Hello, this is David Snyder. Welcome to Secrets of Human Influence. I'm your host, David Snyder, and I'll be sharing with you some really cool stuff about the art and science of how to persuade people. A couple of things you should know. First of all, I'm a teacher who thrives on interactiveness as much as possible. So even though this is a webinar, I will be asking for your participation in this process. There are some things that you should know other than that, some administrative things I'd like to get out of the way. I'll go into what I like to call the David Dog and Pony Show in just a moment. But first and foremost, if you're used to the standard webinar format, where a guy comes on, he teases you about a bunch of stuff, and then he says, and if you buy my $20,000 course, I'll give you the secrets of the universe. You might be a little bit disappointed. I call what we do at Planet David a free flow or free form webinar. What I mean by that is there's a certain process there's a certain format that we follow, and our job here is to deliver as much content to you as humanly possible in the average, what people have been conditioned to think of as the average time span. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be delivering content for about a solid hour to 90 minutes, depending on what the flow of the interaction is. What happens then is we do have an offer. We always give people the next step to take for people who want to go further. So my commitment to you, and what will happen is I'll teach for a good chunk. I'll do the offer, and I'll show you what the events we've got coming up and things of that nature. And then when that's done, I'm going to come back to the main body of the webinar, and I'm going to continue to teach for another hour and a half, however long it is. I'll answer questions and I'll help to flesh things out, things of that nature. So if you've conditioned yourself to think in the 90-minute time blocks, like most webinars are the hour blocks, a huge piece of content is going to be delivered in the first hour, combined with the next step to take. We put some really cool packages together for you that I think you're going to like, that are going to really allow you to take these things out into the world and really take your life to the next level. In fact, you're going to get things in this webinar today that are going to take your life to the next level. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but I wanted to just kind of pre-frame what we're going to be doing together today, because if this is your first time with us and you're used to this 90-minute tease, pitch fest, buy my stuff, it's not going to be like that. But also, a lot of people block and schedule their lives around these 90-minute blocks for webinar. So if you came in expecting 90 minutes and then you're off to the next thing, understand that our webinars tend to go long. And it's because I think it's important for people to come away from our trainings with things that they can take out into the world and use, and feeling like they actually got something for the investment of time and energy that they put into the webinar. So I am going to ask you to interact with me. I'm going to ask you to do certain things, because I treat my webinars like a class, right? And so you're going to come away from this stuff. You're going to come away from this with a handful of techniques that you can take out right into the world and use. And you don't have to believe any single thing I tell you. All you got to do is do it, right? Don't believe a single thing David says. Just do what he tells you to do after the webinar, and prove these things to yourself. If what I say works for you, use it. If what I say doesn't work for you, find something that does. And since we're on that topic, again, before I go into the official dog and pony show, as I like to call it, if politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, this is probably not the best use of your next 90 minutes to 3 hours. Okay. I'm a teacher who likes to have fun with the concepts. I love to give you stuff that's no BS that you can take right out into the world and use. You don't have to believe it for it to work. You just got to be willing to do it with a playful attitude. If you're willing to do that, these things have a high probability of working for you. If this is the scope of every single thing that we could talk about, we have time for this much. So my commitment to you, as is always from Planet David, as we like to call it here, is I will take you as far as I can in the time that we have, and I will point you in the direction of where to go to take the next step, if that's what you want to do. Is that a fair trade? Type in the chat if you think that's fair. Nacho Business says boobies. Excellent. Okay. So a couple other things before we jump into the official presentation. How many of you, first of all, type your name and where you're checking in from so I know who I'm talking to. And finally, if this is your first time with us, go ahead and type first time in the chat, and so we know. And then if this is not your first time with us, if you've been bebopping around Planet David for a while, you've been to some of our live events and things like that, type that in the chat room. And the reason I'm doing that is for the benefit of the new people. The people who've never experienced me, don't know who I am from Adam, because I'm going to tell you stuff that's going to seem crazy. I'm going to tell you stuff that's going to say that can't possibly that easy, can't possibly work that well. Don't believe me. Believe the people in the chat, the people who've been around for a while, who've taken these things out into the world and actually used them, right? Because if you expect me to be biased, you expect me to have an agenda, and I get that, right? But these people who are here in the chat, who are returning and who've taken this stuff out into the world, they're coming back because they've used this stuff. And for those of you who are veterans, who are returning to Planet David, if you see a question that I miss, please, please, please feel free to answer it in the chat. I've got 2 chats going right now because we're doing simultaneously Zoom and YouTube live, and there's a delay, and chats go by so fast I miss the questions. So if you're experienced in what we do and you see a question that you have an answer to from working with our materials, feel free to answer it. If I see it and it doesn't derail us, because I love questions, I'm going to tell you that right now, which is probably one of the most cool things and frustrating things that I get comments about from people, is because when people ask a question, I think you deserve the answer. And so many times people ask me a question and I'll go off on a tangent for something I was completely not going to talk about, and then I'll eventually circle back and we'll continue. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So how many of you are first timers? I'm just looking real quick. Okay, cool. So we've got a lot of cool people, got a lot of cool stuff. So first of all, I always ask this question, especially when I used to do my live events here in San Diego. For years, I owned the meetup space. So how many people here like to do cool stuff? Go ahead and type in the chat if you're somebody who likes to do cool stuff. Okay. How many of you like to hang out with cool people? If you like to hang out with cool people, type that in the chat. And finally, how many of you like to do cool stuff with cool people, having fun with things you like to do? Go ahead and type that in the chat. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, cool. Excellent. Better than dumbasses. Indeed, indeed. And there's a reason. It's because one of the things that I've found to be the most important piece to learning how to do these things, and I see Rob, Mr. McCason's raising his hand there. I don't know that I'll have time to deal with everybody who raised, oops, hold on a second. I just lost my, there it is. I don't know that I'll have time to deal with raised hands right now without breaking the flow of the webinar. But if I can, there will be times to ask questions. So be as playful as humanly possible with this stuff, and you're going to find that the stuff you're learning becomes far more powerful. Okay, and we'll talk about some of that during the webinar. So without further ado, if it's okay with you, I'd like to go ahead and begin the formal part of our presentation. Okay. Let's go ahead and let me share my screen. So, oops, wait a minute. And by the way, I do not like PowerPoints, and so you will see me bouncing pretty regularly back and forth between them. That's just how I roll. But officially, welcome to Secrets of Human Influence, how to never lose an argument, fail a job interview, and miss a sale ever again, all without lying, cheating, or stealing. I am your host and presenter for today's class, David Snyder. And as is often the case, people often ask, well, who the hell is David Snyder and why should I care? Okay. First and foremost, I've authored over 15 different products and various forms of human influence. I'm a certified trainer in neuro-linguistic programming. I'm also a doctor of acupuncture and Oriental medicine. What you're seeing there is my diploma, a copy of my diploma from the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. I've been a practicing acupuncturist since about 2005. I graduated with my master's degree, and then I went on for my doctorate. For the last, up until from 2017 to about 2019, I was voted among the top 2 NLP trainers in the world by globalgurus.com. This year, I was named the #1 NLP trainer in the world. by global influence. And like I said before, I've authored over 15 different products on various forms of human influence, everything from how to attract people, how to win negotiations, therapy work, mediation, jury selection, things of that nature. And so this was kind of a pleasant surprise. Thanks to the support of wonderful people like you, I've been able to take that #1 spot, and with your help, we'll be able to continue to build on that for more. We had an interesting thing happen this year that I didn't expect at all. And that was, this is another letter from globalgurus.com. Based on the new ranking of my NLP development program. And it says, "Dear David, it is great pleasure to announce that your training program, Killer Influence, has been chosen by global peers and ranked as the #1 best NLP program in the world." You can see it here. And we've attached the logo. And again, there you see all the different courses that were in the running. And what's funny is I didn't even know they were doing this. And one of the reasons I point this out is, I never really built this as an NLP program, but because it's derived from NLP, they named it the #1 NLP training system in the world. And also because the technologies and the, let me go back to this, and the techniques I'm going to be sharing with you are pulled directly from the Killer Influence program. Okay, I see 3 people with raised hands, and maybe Stephanie can answer those questions in the chat before we go back. So 1 second, where did my, go back to sharing my screen. So that's kind of cool, right? I also have a 10th degree black belt in a martial art called Ryukyu Kempo. I have a 4th degree black belt in Shaolin Kun Tao, 2nd degree black belt in Kosho Kempo, 1st degree black belt in Fankuru Jiu-Jitsu. I'm also a certified instructor in Combat Sistema, Cinco Mano Eskrima, and Modern Arnis. And one of the reasons that, as you hear me go through this laundry list, you may think, well, what the heck what do all these things have to do with human influence, or what do all these things have in common? And the first thing is pattern recognition. What does that have to do with human influence? Well, it has everything to do with human influence. You see, everything human beings do follow patterns. Those patterns have a structure. And once you learn how to perceive the structures of people's behaviors, the structures in people's language patterns, the structures in people's mechanics, they become predictable. And it allows you to rapidly begin to predict what people are going to do, or what direction their thoughts are going. And once you can recognize the patterns of how a person thinks and how a person behaves, you can figure out very, very easily how to inject small changes at key points in their patterns to redirect them into places that are more useful for your outcome and more useful for helping people get what you want. That being said, one of the things that many people have a little bit of hesitancy about when they start wanting to learn about influence is they think that that they're somehow doing something sneaky or unethical or what have you. Human beings are influence-based creatures. In order to function and survive in a society, we must, by definition, have an understanding of how to get people's goodwill and their desire to do things for us. Now, everything that you're going to learn in today's webinar is completely 100% ethical. It is also one of the most powerful forms of influence that you can apply. And because it's powerful, there is the potential that it could be misused. But if you follow and you really internalize the techniques and the technologies I'm going to share with you, you'll never have to lie. You'll never have to cheat. You'll never have to steal. All you'll do is move through the world, making everyone you meet feel ridiculously good for having encountered you. And as a result of that, they will cleave to you. They will cling to you. They will connect with you. They will think you're the most fascinating, self-affirming person that they've ever met, and they will want to spend time with you, and they will want to do things for you. Plus, you're going to learn exactly how to merge what people's most intense desires are with what you want them to do, so that by doing what you wanted them to do, they get everything they want. Is that a fair trade, to move through the world getting everything you want by showing other people how to get what they want? Is that fair? If you think that's a fair trade, if that's a good way to move through the world, go ahead and type that in the chat for me, please. Okay, because that's exactly what you're going to learn here today. Now, I'm going to tell you, there is a dark side to this stuff. And people who are sociopathic, Machiavellian, narcissistic, they get their hands on this technology, and people who don't have it are fair game. So even though I'm teaching you how to use this on the side of the angels, there's another side to this that I want you to understand. And whether you accept it or not, it's okay. If you don't know how to do this, if you don't understand how to recognize it, you will become a victim of it. So this class is a self-empowerment class. It's going to empower you to move through the world doing exactly what I said you could do. Get everything you want by showing other people how to get what they want and having them feel ridiculously good about it. It's also going to empower you in the sense that you're going to be able to detect when other people are trying to do these things to you in a way that is not in your highest interest. Is that useful? If you think that's useful, type in the chat for me. Cool. Okay. That being said, let's go back to the David Dog and Pony show, and we'll jump in. Hold on a second. Okay. I got to get used. My chat bars keep jumping around. So I'm like, okay. So pattern recognition. So this class is for you. See if any, and again, as I list these things off, just type in yes or check in the chat. If you've ever fantasized or thought about how to become super attractive or to members of the opposite sex, or make them find you charming or fascinating and irresistible, go ahead and put a check in the box. If you want to banish fear and insecurity from your life and radiate confidence and assertiveness in your life, go ahead and type that in the chat. If you'd like to make more money from your job, book more clients for your business, get that raise or promotion that you know you deserve, and maybe even protect yourself from manipulators and people that are difficult to handle, go ahead and type that in the chat. If you would like to have people thinking, feeling, and acting the way you want them to do and feel good about it so that they naturally want to follow your lead, this is probably a good place for you to pay attention. If you'd like to use these skills to create massive financial abundance with more than enough money to buy the things you want and then some, pay close attention, because I know people who are doing this right now. Okay. If you'd like to nail 2 out of 3 job interviews on the spot and have them salivating to hire you, pay attention, right? If you've ever fantasized about what it might be like, again, these are for the gray area Jedis. If you've ever wondered what it might be like to be able to put anyone under your spell just by talking to them, even if you have 0 hypnosis experience, pay attention. Okay. Okay. Very cool. So here's my personal promise to you once again. If you stay until the end of this webinar, I'm going to show you, I'm going to teach you the fastest, most powerful, and direct way to make people like, love, and trust you. I'm going to show you how to have people hanging on your every word, how to emotionally bond another human being to you, your product, or your service, and make them want to do what you want them to do. And then finally, when you know you're ready, I'm going to teach you how to go from interesting information to becoming a master of unstoppable persuasion. Does that sound like a good agenda for today? If you think that's a good format for today, go ahead and type that in the chat. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Perfect. All right. So here's my question for you. This is, again, the interactive portion of our training. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to type in the chat, what do you want to learn about today? What's the biggest, most important question that you have about how to influence others that you'd like the answer to? Just go ahead and type your answer in the chat, because the answer to this question is going to factor in the very first drill that I'm going to share with you. How to make this easy? Okay. I'm all about easy, by the way. By the way, here's the first thing. If you ever sign up for somebody's persuasion class and the first thing that hits you is confusion, get out of the class. One of the things that I've learned the hard way, let me go back to, I'm not sharing my screen. One of the things that I learned the hard way is that if you go to somebody's class and the drills aren't easy, if it's a cumbersome to use technique, if it's not fun for you, you probably won't use it out in the street. You understand that? When we start looking at human influence is one of the few places where a little bit of information applied the right way yields tremendous, tremendous benefits. Okay? And so it's not, in this webinar, I'm gonna deliver on everything I shared with you today. Each and every technique that I share with you can satisfy each of those 4 areas that we talked about. There is a full system from which these pieces are derived, and we'll talk about how you can learn the whole system later on. But right now, we want to start with one of the most powerful and useful techniques that is out there. We call this the echo technique. And here's, I hope you brought something to take notes. I really did. Okay. First thing to understand, I want to teach you the secret back door to the human nervous system. In other words, if you use this one technique, you will literally generate increased rapport, a desire to communicate, and increased understanding and attention from that person. Would that be useful, to be able to just walk up to anybody and just instantly have their complete attention focused on you and hanging on your every word? Would that be useful? Okay, so here it is. Here's the very first technique, and the reason I'm teaching it first is A, it's the simplest, it's the most ethical, it's the most in line with how the neurology is designed to interpret and analyze and respond to language. And it literally forces a person to A, pay attention to you in spite of everything else that's going on, B, to feel like you really get them and understand them so they fall deeper into rapport and connect with you deeply. And it causes them to want to talk more so you don't have to. How many people here hate small talk? Just type that if you're one of those people that just hates small talk. Okay, if you're the kind of person who hates small talk, this is going to be the most powerful thing you can learn. This saves my ass on a regular basis. Okay, and I truly mean it. It saves my ass on a regular basis. But when you do it, it automatically causes people to want to just run off at the mouth. And the best part about it is, the longer they talk to you, the more connected to you they get. So it's an attraction, rapport, connection amplifier, and it's the simplest technique on the planet. And here it is. The most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment are the words that just came out of their mouth. Literally, the words that just came out of their mouth. Okay? No, it's actually, Martin, it's not their own name, because you can overuse a person's own name, but it's very, very hard to overuse a person's own words. You see, in NLP looks at how human beings think and use language in terms of filtering systems, right? And so what happens is the words that come out of our mouth are a literal representation of every filtering process that has gone on inside of us. So think of it like a key to a lock. When you give a person's words right back to them, it's literally a key to lock fit to their nervous system. Everything that you're giving back to them is a complete 100% zero mistranslation match to what they're looking for. Okay? And so what happens is it goes right to the deepest, most sensitive levels of their emotions, and it forces them to pay attention to you. One of the reasons for that is there's this, how many people are familiar with the concept of, from psychology, known as projection? Have you guys ever heard that word? Okay, for those of you who don't know what projection is, let me just explain it to you and why it's relevant to what we're doing today. Projection is us taking whatever is inside of us and projecting it out onto everyone around us, and hallucinating that everyone around us does things and thinks things exactly the way we do. Okay. So a lot of times when people make a mistake, they'll look at somebody and say, you made me do X, Y, Z. Well, that's actually projection. Okay. But there's another side to projection. And projection happens, every human being creates a model of the way the world works. I call it, there's actually two maps of the world that human beings move through the world. The way the world is and the way the world's supposed to be. We move through the world responding to a map that says this is the way the world's supposed to be. And then we project that map out around us, looking for people who match. It's like, you guys know what sonar or radar is? If you know what that is, type that in the chat. Okay. So what happens is sonar and radar work by sending out a signal. right? And then that signal hits something and it bounces back and it's interpreted by the system. Your neurology does something very, very similar with its behaviors, its languaging, and its emotions, for lack of a better word. So as we move through the world, we're projecting, we're sending little pings out into the world. And what we're secretly looking for is we're looking for the match. We're looking for who's just like you, who's just like me, right? And when we get that message, that ping coming back to us that says this person is like me, we check off a little box and the barriers to intimacy drop and we become more identified and feel more affinity with that person. When you give a person's exact words back, and I'm going to demo it for you in just a minute. When you give a person's exact words back to them, it signals a very, very powerful message of sameness to the neurology. Your neurology is literally moving through the world looking for itself. Okay? It's literally moving through the world looking for itself. Okay? And so, and by the way, if you're wondering how to make this work, if we have time towards the end of the webinar, I'll come back and I'll show you how to camouflage the echo technique in various forms of communication so that you can use it all the time. But the basic core echo technique is simply this. Whatever words a person gives you, use them verbatim in the conversation as much as you can and ask questions or variations of those words based on that. And what happens is you will start to create a very, very powerful sense of connection with that person. Because when a person gets their very own words back to them, they feel understood. They feel approved of. And they feel, how many of you have ever gone through the world and you just felt like you were communicating, but they just weren't getting what you were saying, or they just weren't getting you, right? We call that need to feel understood and accepted validation. When a person gets these words back to them, they feel accepted. They feel like they're okay. They feel like you're a kindred spirit. They feel safer around you. That safety leads to comfort. That comfort leads to trust. That trust leads to liking, and it just keeps snowballing that way. And when their words hit them, they want to tell you more. They want to self-disclose. We're going to show you how to leverage that later on. Okay? But don't believe me. Just go out into the world, start echoing people's words, and watch what happens. Okay? I'll give you, this is a real quick 5-minute example. Back, you guys know I'm a martial artist. Back in the early 90s, I lived in Coral Springs, Florida, and I learned this process early on as part of my NLP training. And I coined the echo technique, but this concept isn't new to NLP. It's been around for a long time. It's just people don't emphasize it or really give it the due it deserves. So one of the things that would happen is people would call my martial arts studio and would literally go something like this. We'd go, ring, ring. Hello, this is Coral Springs Martial Arts Academy. This is David. How can I help you? Hi, David. My name is Brenda. I'm interested in karate lessons for my 10-year-old son, Josh. Oh, hey, Brenda. So you're interested in karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh? Yeah. Don't laugh. That's what they do. It's like I read their mind for some reason, right? I'll say, well, excellent. Well, just so I understand you better, Brenda, and to make sure that this is a good fit, tell me a little about what's important to you about karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh. Well, David, Josh is a great kid. He's really smart, but in fact, he's so smart that he's actually moved a grade ahead in his school. And I'm worried that the kids are going to be a little bigger and he might be a little bit nervous. And I'm afraid the kids might pick on him. I heard martial arts was a good way, for kids to build self-confidence and self-esteem and to kind of focus. And that's really, my big thing that I want for Josh. Oh, I see. So you want things for Josh like confidence and self-esteem and to make sure that the big kids don't pick on him. And you'd heard the karate and martial arts was a good way for kids to develop that focus and that confidence and self-esteem so that the big kids wouldn't pick on him. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brenda, martial arts for centuries has been heralded as one of the most powerful ways for children to learn focus and confidence and self-esteem and to protect themselves against bullies and things of that nature. And you said Josh is small for his age, but he's smart and his teachers moved him up ahead. So there is a chance that he might run into some kids that might want to pick on him. And martial arts is a great way for Josh to kind of make up for that difference in ages and that difference in size in terms of confidence and focus and the ability to hold off those bullies. So it really is a good fit for you and Josh. And I wanted to let you know that we have a course that's actually quite specific for people like kids like Josh, and it's designed to teach them focus and confidence and self-esteem. And it includes two free group classes and one private class. It comes with a free uniform. And if you're interested in test driving that and see if it's a good fit for Josh, I have appointments today at 5:30 and I have one tomorrow at 6 p.m. Which do you think would be a better fit for you and your 10-year-old son, Josh? Well, you know, David, I think that sounds really good. I think maybe tomorrow at 6, because then he can come home, he can do his homework, he can eat his dinner, and then he can just have a clear head for the class. And I think 6 o'clock tomorrow. Okay, so you think 6 o'clock tomorrow would be better for you. Excellent. I'm going to pencil you and Josh in. You'll get your free private class, and then you'll get your free uniform. And then if you want to stay for the group class, you're more than welcome to that, or we can schedule another time for you to come in and do your free group class. Let me just get a few more bits of information for you, your phone number and stuff. And we'll see you and Josh tomorrow at 6 p.m. You have a great day. Click. About 9 out of 10 people show up, right? Josh is going to be a rock star now. Right? So if you go back and you look at what I said and how I said it, how much of what David said were actually Brenda's words? How many different ways did I use Brenda's words? You see, those are the words that were important to Brenda, not my paraphrasing what I think Brenda meant, which is often termed in therapy circles active listening. Active listening is not as efficient or as powerful as the actual just blatant echo technique. Yeah, most of it was seamless echoing, right? And again, there's a lot of user friendliness in this technique. When I teach people to do it in my classes, I'm very strict on them. I say, I want you to use their words verbatim. And the reason is because I try to make their training harder than real life. But one of the cool things about using the echo technique is it automatically triggers understanding, or the realization that what the person is saying is being heard, related to, and understood. It causes people to feel comfortable. It causes people to want to divulge more information. And that is the holy grail of influence, because the more information a person gives you, and especially with this technique, the longer they talk, the more connected to you they become. Okay. So do we get the concept of echo technique? If you get it, go ahead and type that in the chat. Okay. Now, while we're on this subject, there is this phenomena that raises its ugly head. And it happens every single time I teach the echo technique or any other aspect of NLP that causes the person to have to do something different than they organically do it inside their heads. It's called the spotlight effect. The spotlight effect is a phenomena that happens anytime you start to deviate from what is natural for you. In other words, you know you're doing something different. It feels unnatural for you. And because it feels unnatural for you, you automatically assume everyone around you feels that way too, or they perceive it that way. That is an illusion. It's so pervasive, it's called the spotlight effect. When you start to echo people's words, everybody around them will probably notice that you're echoing their words, except the person you're actually echoing the words to. Okay. And here's the best part. If you come from a place of sincerity, of coming from a place of sincere desire to connect and understand, even if the person knows you're doing it, it won't matter. This is one of the things people are worried about, getting caught. I challenge you to get caught. But here's the one thing I want to kind of extrapolate for you. Beware of the spotlight effect. Understand that just because it feels different from the way you would normally communicate doesn't mean it feels unnatural to the person who's receiving it. In fact, more often than not, they feel more understood, more validated than they've ever felt before. Okay. In fact, my associate, TJ Zito, tells a funny story. First few times he came to my training, he saw me teaching the echo technique. And he was like, nah, I got to test this one out. So he had this longtime girlfriend. They'd been together for about 10 years, and then they dated, and then they'd become friends. And it was a very close relationship, but it was one where she knew him intimately. And so he went to her house, knocked on her door. She opens up, she lets him in. She goes, "Hey, I learned this amazingly cool technique today. I'd like to tell you about it. But first, tell me about your day. How was your day?" And what he did was she started telling him about her day. And every couple minutes, he would just echo back what she said, ask another question. About 15 minutes into the conversation, she looks at him, she goes, "So when are you going to tell me about this technique that you learned?" And he goes, in a minute, just go ahead and tell me. I'll tell you about my technique I learned in a minute. Just tell me about your day. I'm really enjoying hearing how your day went. And so she goes on, and he's echoing her back. She doesn't catch any of it. Another 15 minutes goes by. She looks at him and goes, "So when are you going to tell me about this technique that you learned?" He goes, "In a minute, I'll get to it. I'll tell you about the technique that I learned." And so she goes on for another 15 minutes, and he reaches about 45 minutes into the conversation. He can't take it anymore. He just busts out laughing. And she's like, "What? What?" She goes, "You know that technique that I said I was going to tell you about?" She goes, "Yeah, when are you going to tell it to me? I've been talking for 45 minutes. You haven't told me about it." She goes, "I've been using it on you for the last 45 minutes. She goes, "What?" "Yeah, what? I've really been using it on you for the last 40. You've been using it on me for the last 40 minutes. Yes, I've been using it on you for the last 45 minutes. She still didn't catch it. Right? They went back and forth for like 10, 15 minutes. And then he looks at her, because he had to test David. He looks at her and goes, "So, question, how do you feel about the conversation that we've just been having?" And she looks at him. She goes, "You know, I think this is probably the best conversation we've ever had." Boom. People really don't. Here's the thing. Again, lest you have any more doubts about whether this is ethical or not. Human beings are hardwired, even though they don't consciously know it, human beings are hardwired to want to be communicated to in this way. They want to be communicated in this way. This is the most pleasure generating, connection and internally validating form of communication that a human being can experience. Now, here's the flip side to that. If you know consciously exactly how to communicate to someone in the way that makes them feel the most heard, accepted, understood, validated, and approved of, and you didn't do it, who's the asshole now? Think about it for a moment. If you knew that this was the most desirable way for a person to be communicated with, and you deliberately choose not to do it, who's the jerk now? Right? So here's my point. If you adopt echo technique as your natural, well, not natural, but your adopted new way of moving through the world and connecting with everybody, because it gives you greater insight into that person. It amplifies connection, it amplifies trust, it amplifies rapport, it facilitates greater self-disclosure on the part of the other person, and that self-disclosure causes them to like you more. If you come from that place because you truly want to understand and connect with people better, it's impossible to get caught, even if you get caught, because there's nothing evil or malevolent to catch. If you view this as a way to move through the world, taking advantage of people, or you view it as a trick to get inside somebody's head, you're not going to deliver it quite as congruently, right? But even if you did get caught, you don't get caught unless you stop doing it, right? So I want you to understand there's tremendous power in this sincere desire to connect and communicate using a person's very own words. This is so pervasive and so powerful a phenomenon in human beings that it's used in hostage negotiation, it's used in various forms of therapy, and now I'm teaching it to you so you can use it in every place where you have to communicate with another human being. It works in writing, it works in typing, it works in chat, it works on video, it works over the phone. It works any place language is involved. Jerry's saying, depends on who I'm liking, being as asshole too. Okay. Can this, I just answered that question. Can this be used? Yes, absolutely can. Brandon Ramage says, just like the fact that people go wrong in relationships because they project their own love language and value. Yes. Again, we have to understand this human projection phenomena, because until we understand it, it's going to randomly work for us and it's going to randomly work against us. But remember, unless you grew up, unless you came out of the womb naturally echoing people, which, by the way, most people start to do when they fall into rapport. If you've ever finished somebody's sentence for them, it's because your brain waves were entrained and you were actually on the same wavelength. It's a variant of this phenomenon. Echo help, yeah, Crixus Maximus is saying echo helps you understand them better. Yes, in fact, if you learn to echo people properly, your memory for conversation will dramatically increase. It will make everything you've learned from your classical NLP training much more useful, much more functional, faster. Okay, again, I'm gonna leave this part here. The most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment are the ones that just came out of their mouth. Now, the echo technique is I teach the echo technique first, because it covers the biggest majority of the problems that we have with people. Okay, it gets them to want to pay attention to us. It gets them to feel like we understand them. It makes them want to tell us more things. And because they want to tell us more things, we have ammunition and we have leverage within the conversation. But the echo technique is built into every other process that I'm going to be sharing with you on today's webinar. Okay, and so the next piece, and this is again how we would have somebody hanging on every word. The next thing I want to talk about is what I call the emotional bonding checklist. Okay, the emotional bonding checklist works like this. For every single thing human beings choose to do or not do, there is a set of parameters that have to be met inside their mind that generates an emotion, then they give that emotion a name. What we want to do is learn how to tap into the emotional needs of the people that we communicate with and bond ourself, our product, or our service to what they most want and desire. And because human beings are, in spite of whatever your philosophical approach about humanity may be, human beings and human nervous systems are inherently selfish. By showing people a clear path, using their words, using their internal checklist, how to get whatever they want by doing what you want and keeping them connected to those emotional needs, they will tend to do what you want out of default. Does that make sense? Go ahead. If that makes sense, type it in the chat. Okay. So for this next drill, you are going to need a piece of paper or something to write on and something to write with. Now, I'm old school, so I say paper and pencil. I think this stuff is actually more powerful experientially for you if you use a pencil and paper. But if you're gonna pull up a notepad and type on that, that's perfectly fine. But I want you to follow the structure of what I'm about to share with you, because I want you to experience it. Is that okay to experience some emotional bonding? Is that okay? Okay, cool. So you'll remember at the beginning of the webinar, I asked you to write down what was the biggest question or most important question that you had. Each and every one of you are on this webinar today because you see the potential in this webinar to get a tool or tools to achieve something you want in your life. True or not true? Type that in if that's true or not, if that's true. Okay. Now, I don't need to know what that is directly. It's just important that you know what that is. And I want you to take your tablet or take your piece of paper, and I want you to write what that one thing is, or several things that you want to be able to do or to get for your life from the tools you're learning in this seminar. Now, you can feel free to type it in the chat if you want to share it. That's fine. I may use one of those as an example. But what's important is I want you to write down what it is that this seminar is going to do for you. What's it going to get you? That's the first thing. Write that on the page. And when you've done that, type done in the chat. Okay, excellent. Okay, perfect. Great. By the way, every application is allowed, whether you want to meet hot women or hot men, whether you want to close more business deals, convince juries and judges to side with you. I don't vilify any persuasion application. Okay, excellent. Now, underneath that thing, I want you to write this question. Let me see if I got my checklist here. You know what? I'll just tell you what to do, and then I'll show it to you because I don't want to confuse people. Underneath what you want to do with the techniques from this seminar, I want you to write this question, and then I want you to write the answer. Here's the question: what's important about that? Question mark. And I want you to answer the question. What's important about what you want to get from this seminar? What's it going to get? What's using the techniques and technologies from this seminar going to get you? And what's that going to do? You know, what's that going to do for you? What's important about it? Okay. We're learning the first step in emotional bonding. The first step is finding out what people want. The second step is finding out what's important about getting it. Okay. And answer it. And when you're done, go ahead and type that down. Right. And then if you were to get that, if you were to get the tools from this webinar that would allow you to achieve that thing you want, and you know what's important about getting that, if you were to get that, what's important about that? What's important about that? Let me go ahead and write that down. Maximize life experience. Perfect. Not a problem with that. Right? And if you were to, and just using Tom's example, if you were to maximize life experience using these techniques, what's important about maximizing your life experience? What's that going to do for you? Right? Now, what I want you to pay attention to as you drill down, remember, I want you to be personal with this, okay? I'm not going to look at it. I'm not going to judge it. But I want you to pay attention as you write these things down. What do you feel? Just go down till you get to the list. What's important about? What's important about? Warm and fuzzy, helping me and other people. Okay. Elena, what's important? If you were to be able to have the tools to go out and help yourself and other people, ultimately, what would that do for you? What would that allow? What would you experience from that? Right? Want to start a cult? That's perfectly fine. Right? Do you feel good? Do you feel emotions? Type yes if you feel emotions in the chat. Bingo. That's what we want. It's not the surface level stuff that's important, although we're going to echo that. So you got to find out what people want. You ask them what's important about that. You validate what they said. You echo. You ask the next question. As you drill down, they're going to get progressively more emotional. And you want to harvest all those words. You want to harvest all those words. And when you begin to describe yourself, your product, your service, whatever it is, use those words. Okay? Use those words. Okay, Johnny Wisco is asking, what about how do you know when you have it? This is where, again, we get, and it's a great question, and I'm getting to it, Johnny. But the most important question that we need is how do you know? Or sorry, not how do you know, what's important about? The what's important about question drills down to the emotional hierarchy of needs that a person has for the surface level thing. Okay? So if somebody comes to you, like let's say you're selling insurance. You might want to say, a beginner at this might say, so what's important to you about insurance? And we all know that people take insurance for various forms of security, right? And the person might say, well, so my family's taken care of. So, oh, I get it. So it's really important to you. So it seems like making sure that your family's taken care of is really, really important to you. It goes, yeah, it's really important. That's why I'm here. So yeah, so again, how do you know? How do you know when your family's being taken care of? Well, you know, there's money for the college kids, the house is paid off, There's a disability program in effect if I can't work. Now they've given me a checklist of parameters of things that I need to satisfy. When I start to talk about the policy that I'm going to present to them, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to drill down on the how do you know. I'm only going to talk about the things that they talked about. And I'm going to link it back to making sure their family is taken care of. Well, Mr. Prospect, as we go through this policy, you're going to see this amazingly powerful, this very generous death benefit, so that if you're not around and not in the picture, your kids will be taken care of because their college will be paid for, their house will be paid off, there'll be extra money and income for your wife. As you look at the disability payment, if something should happen to you, you'll see that you're going to be more than compensated for the time off, so you'll know your family is taken care of. Right? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take that checklist, I'm going to link it back to what's important, and I'm just going to keep linking back, linking back, linking back. And here's the thing. The longer you do that, the more they will tend to do business with you out of default. Okay? You use their words and you only talk about the aspect of your product or service that directly satisfies that need. So as you look at your list and you think about the tools that you're learning and how you're going to use them out in the field and what it's going to get for you, and if you can imagine having that, and you imagine to yourself what's important about that, and once you have that and you have the tools to get that, if you were to get that in the way that was most important to you, what's important to you about that? And how do you know that you're getting it? Right? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? And ultimately, if you got all that together, if all those parameters were satisfied, ultimately, what's important to you about that? And for me, for my edification, type that one in the chat room, just so I know. Freedom, excellent. What if they're wrong? First of all, you don't disagree with them. That's often a different rabbit. Intimate connection, okay. Yes, Terrence, just me and the cat. I don't know what that means. Anybody else? Peace of mind, okay. Fulfillment, excellent. Freedom to pursue what I want without any limits, excellent. Right? Make the world a better place, stronger rapport, deeper, excellent. These are all perfect. When you hit words like that, you don't need to go any further unless it's too vague. Now, this is where the how do you know question comes in. So I'm going to share with you a template that I teach my students to use. There's a format that we follow, but I want you to have the experience of this. I want you to feel how your neurology links the emotions of getting what you want to the techniques that you're learning. And is that useful? Is that helpful? Okay, excellent. So here's a common teaching example that I give. Two people are in a relationship and they both have the same word for that emotional need that they have. That word might be respect, right? So you have person A and you have person B. Person B says to person A, so what's important to you in a relationship? What's something you absolutely have to have for the relationship to work? And person A says, well, respect. See, I know you, and the person goes, oh, respect. You know what? I think respect is absolutely one of the most important things to have. I know I need it in my relationship, but I'm curious about something. You know, respect means different things to different people. So just so I understand you better, how do you know? How do you know when you're getting that respect? And person A looks at them and says, well, I know you respect me when you tell me the truth. When you don't worry about whether what you say is going to hurt my feelings or whether I'm going to be upset or whether it's going to piss me off. You tell me the truth because it's the truth and I need to hear it. That's how I know you respect me. Person B says, cool. Person A goes, so what about you? How do you know when you're getting respect? Person B says, well, I know you respect me when you take your time to think about how you're going to present that information to me. You don't lie to me. You don't lie by omission, but you soften and you're diplomatic and you take my feelings into consideration when you're telling me what you need to tell me. Okay? And that's how I know you respect me. Now, What do you think happens when these two people get in an argument? What do you think will happen? Okay. Well, each person is going to feel pretty disrespected, aren't they? Why? Because their rules didn't match. The checklist, the how do you know piece of the puzzle wasn't answered. You only need to ask the how do you know question when there's any vagueness to how you satisfy that need. Do you understand what I'm saying? The two questions you're going to use most often with this process is what's important about X and how do you know? Okay. Does this make sense? Okay. So that being said, there's a template that I want you to follow. Now, the secret to this is when they give you words to use, this is a big one. I got to tell you, this is especially true. This is especially true if you're selling. You'll see this everywhere, but it's really important when you're selling. So whether you're a coach or salesman, a prospect, a therapist, whatever, you'll see the lights go on and the lights go off. How many people are familiar with my face reading classes? Okay, some of you are, right? You might remember me talk about a concept called Shen, right? Shen is a light behind the eyes. You ever notice somebody who's like feeling really depressed or really down, and all of a sudden something happens that makes them ecstatically happy, and their lights just are like little spotlights? You ever seen that happen to somebody, right? What you're going to see, that's called, in the Chinese face reading, that's called Shen. What happens, metaphysically speaking, is the moment we experience joy, more Shen comes into their bodies and their eyes get lighter and brighter. When you do this with people, you will see them start to Shen in. You'll see them start to get emotion. You may see them actually tear up if you've done this well. Okay. I was going to say, hold on a second. I lost my train of thought. Is Shen fakeable? Only if you're a method actor, because method actors actually, in human language, that's called an orgasm. You're not wrong. That's actually a very powerful moment when more Shen comes into the body. We have a class coming up next August, Erotic Hypnosis Made Easy. Some people, we're taking a little side road down the earthy trail. Let's kind of bring it back. Let's kind of bring it back to today. But if you guys are interested in the erotic hypnosis training that's coming up next August, I will teach you where to go for more information. Stephanie, our lovely co-host who's in the chat, can point you in the direction for where to enroll for that before all the seats are taken. We had 80 men and women show up last time. It was packed. It was ridiculous. Rebecca Tornberg says, my validation does come from others, sort of because I care a bit about what they think of me. That's not bad. Okay, that's what we call a meta program. We don't have time to talk about it here, but in our advanced CPI and killer influence trainings, we talk about those meta programs and how to use them. So Rebecca, there's nothing wrong with you if you seek certain level of validation from other people. Okay, I wouldn't be doing what I did if I didn't have a certain degree of desire for validation from others. Is Shen observable for a person who isn't it? Yes, Shen is very observable. You'll see the eyes light up. And the reason I'm bringing that up, remembered now, is because when you start utilizing this emotional bonding checklist, which is what we call it, when you start using the emotional bonding checklist and you hit on the right words, which will be the ones that come out of their mouth, you'll see them Shen in. You'll see the eyes get brighter. You'll see them get emotional. They're going to become more present. When that happens, remember, when that happens, you only talk about the aspect of your product or service that directly satisfies those words, that satisfies those needs, and you use those words to describe that aspect of your product or service. If you start to talk about anything else, right, or you start to use different words, you'll see the light in the eyes start to dim. And that should be your first clue that you're veering off course. Okay, you'll see the pupils dilate, you'll see the Shen come out, you'll see them lean forward, you'll see them maybe even start to tear up. Okay, these are all very observable, not so subtle things that people will do when you tap into this checklist. And the longer you talk about them, the more they will start to immediately associate your product or service with the attainment of that goal or that need. Now, I have to warn you, using this process, it is possible to get people to want to do things that are not in their best interests. It usually involves deception or lying. Okay? You don't need to do that. Okay? Here's the takeaway. In NLP training, we call the emotional bonding process, or the emotional bonding checklist, criteria and values. A person cannot go against their criteria and values without experiencing emotional pain. Conversely, we can't talk about our criteria and values without experiencing some intense level of emotional pleasure or bonding or connection. So if, as you're talking to your prospect or the person you want to attract or what have you, and you make the determination that you cannot ethically satisfy those needs, tell them that. I know, some of you are worried about paying rent next month or whatever. Tell them the truth. If you make the determination in good faith that you can't satisfy it, send them to someone who can. And what will happen is you will gain so much trust, so much credibility, so much faith and loyalty in this person that they will start to recommend and refer people to you over and over again. And they will actually look for an opportunity to work with you in the future. If you take the low road and you offer a person something that doesn't give them what they wanted, they will move heaven and earth to get payback, right? Again, our job is to move through the world showing people how to get everything they want by giving us what we want. And as long as we keep to that, we'll never have to worry about people sneaking into our house, breaking our shit, boiling your rabbits or whatever, right? John, when you're talking to your prey, yeah, let's not do that. Let's not be that guy. I teach protectors and I teach people. I don't teach predators. Okay. David will love bomb you. Yeah. So Johnny Wisco says, in my opinion, you need to be prepared for the people you're talking to turn this technique back on you, if for no better reason than they'll be curious about someone that's interested in their values. Yeah, but here's the point. It's because you're interested. It's because you want to know what they want so you can give it to them. There's no ulterior, there's no nefarious agenda here. And if someone has a problem with you wanting to know what they want so you can give it to them, that's probably not the right relationship for you. Those people have other issues that you need, but I almost never have that come up. In fact, I don't think I've ever had it come up, right? Okay. So again, Laura is saying stalkers. Again, that goes back to reading, how to read people. We have other webinars for that. Today is about influencing people, not about how to read them. Although reading Shen is very important. Boiled rabbit, fishball is the saying. Okay, so are we clear on that so far? Yeah, the how do you know question comes up anytime, like people use words like respect or comfort or safety or security. That's when you might want to drill down and ask the how do you know questions, because until you know how they recognize those things, you don't know what to give them, right? If, let's say two people are talking about fruit, right? I walk up and I hand them an apple and they're looking like, what's this? I go, you said you wanted fruit. No, I want an orange. Well, you just said fruit. Yeah, I know. But how do you know when you got the right fruit? Well, it's orange, it's round, it's got a peel, right? That's what I mean. Okay. You got to know what to give the people, and then you give it to them. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? Cool. All right. So what I'm going to share with you now is a template that I teach my students. So you can go out into the world and start making this work for you. In fact, you know what? Maybe what we'll do. Is this useful so far, everything I've shared with you? Okay, so here's what I'd like to do. Okay, whenever I teach a class, and people who've been to my live events will tell you this. I'm always agonized over the people who attend either virtually or who just want video. People come up to me and they say to me, David, I notice when I look at the prices on your website, A, there's a lot of stuff there, but B, that I'm always torn between coming to the live event versus going and just buying the videos. And I always look at them, and my students will tell you this without missing a beat. I tell people, if you have a choice between buying the video course or coming to the live event, come to the live event. The live event will transform you. Like you'll get live one-on-one interaction with me. You'll get all the installations. You'll get 3 times the hands-on of any other trainer in the industry. And you'll have a community that you can work with, and you'll come out unstoppable because we make you accountable. We make you do the repetitions that make you good. I tell all my students that for everything you get from me, you always pay twice. The first payment's the easy one. That's the money. You can always make more money, right? That gives you access to the information. But it's the second payment that most people never make, or a lot of them never make. And that's the payment of time, energy, effort, the willingness to do the drills and get the skills. It's that second payment that takes you from auditing to ownership. And it gives you a skill set that will take care of you and serve you every time you choose to use it. So I tell people, if you have to choose between a live event and a video event, do the live event. If you can't get to a live event for whatever reason, very relevant now, then the video course is a good second option, and use it as a study guide, right? So that being said, because of everything that's going on, and because I know a lot of you, for whatever reason, logistic, monetarily, whatever, they can't get to a live event, I sat down and I thought to myself, well, if these people were going to learn from home, what could I do? What kind of package could I put together that would give them the biggest bang for their buck? So that if they had nothing else, this would take care of the vast majority of their needs, right? And so with your permission, I'd like to go ahead and share what I've put together for you, with you. And then once we've gone through that and we've covered any questions you have about it, what I'd like to do is I'd like to come back, teach you the emotional bonding template that I just talked about. And then if it's okay, if we have time, I'll teach you a little bit about 3 magic questions protocol, if that's what you want to learn, or if you want to learn about conversational belief change, or the 7 most powerful language patterns that exist. I can start to teach you a little bit about those. Do any of those sound interesting to you? Type what you would like to learn most in the chat so I know where we're going when we get back. Oh, Bridget is saying. Belief change, 3 magic questions, belief change. Conversational belief change, okay. Wait, the question I saw, why is this evolving all the reason this is revolving around nonverbal influence is because this is one of the, again, I have other trainings that talk about nonverbal influence. This is all about linguistic influence, okay? So let's go ahead and look at where we're going. So first of all, let me go ahead and introduce you to what we call the CPI killer influence system, okay? Oh, sorry. So this is what we call the universal persuasion protocol, first and foremost. We'll cover this when we come back, okay? We've done this. Okay, so here we go. Introducing Secrets of Human Influence, the Ultra Persuasion Training Home Study Course. The Secrets of Human Influence course is really all about helping you take your life to the next level, whether taking it to the next level includes making more money, closing more deals, getting more dates, helping more people, feeling more confident, dealing with difficult people, just feeling more empowered in your life. If you just want to win the game of life more and go home with more yeses and more wins, or would like to become more charming, charismatic, this program is really designed to help you move forward with that, okay? So let's look at what we got. Okay, this offer is good until 11:59 tonight. For those of you who might see this on a replay, we'll see what we can do for you there. But this is good until 11:59 tonight. And the Secrets of Human Influence program is a 17 video course that includes the 7-stage universal persuasion protocol, which we're going to talk about when we come back. And it's going to teach you one of the most important things, which is how to think like a master of influence. It's going to teach you what we call the I3 model. The I3 model consists of identity, influence, and intelligence. Identity is all about who you are as a person. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? How do you perceive yourself? How do other people perceive you versus how you want to be perceived or how you want other people to perceive you, and how to modify and take an inventory of that so that you can be your best self and present the version of yourself that is most useful for persuading others. How to set goals, how to achieve outcomes. It's a very different mindset. Everything that we teach in the 7-stage universal persuasion protocol starts with an outcome and about becoming the person who can exert that level of influence. One of my colleagues, Chase Yu, says the most important factor in any form of influence, mind control, or brainwashing isn't the target so much as the person delivering the influence. And that's what How to Think Like a Master Influencer is really about. That module is worth $297. We're going to teach you how to control your psycho-emotional state so that no one else can. What would it be like, for example, type this in the chat, what would it be like if no matter what was going on around you, you had the ability to go into or exit any emotional state that you want? What if you had the ability to make sure no one ever had the ability to push your buttons ever again? What would that be? Would that be useful? What if that were just the beginning? That's what state control allows you to do. What if you could then, using specific body drills and body skills, you would learn how to transfer your emotional states into the body of another person and cause their neurology to literally synchronize with yours so that you could send feelings and emotions back and forth and cause people to change from the inside out. That's what power rapport skills will do for you. They'll teach you how to connect at a neurological level and cause a person's internal filters to spontaneously change and enter the emotional states that you have. That module is worth $297. Is that useful? Type that in if you think that's useful. Right. We're going to teach you the 7 most powerful, irresistible hypnotic language patterns that exist. What would you imagine what you could do? What if you had the ability to make anything you want, cause anything you want in the minds of your subjects? What if you had the ability to make anything you want mean anything you want in the minds of your subjects? We're going to show you how to do that. What if you could literally force a person's internal pictures and internal movies to be exactly what you want and have it done in such a way that the person completely feels like they're made it up, or I guess their own idea? We're going to show you how to do that. What if you could create very powerful 3-dimensional imagery in a person's mind that is so compelling it literally takes over their neurology? What if you had the ability to force a person's attention to be directed to anything you want and away from anything else that you wanted, and for their mind to automatically begin to undergo whatever state or process or experience you want them to have? We're going to show you how to do that. We have language patterns for each and every one of these processes. That's what we call the 7 most powerful hypnotic language patterns on the planet. That language that module alone is actually worth way more than $297. But we're going to, as part of the process. We're going to teach you how to use all of that to manage the emotional states of others so you can put people into whatever mood you need them to be in so they'll take the actions you want them to take. We're going to show you how to pay attention to a person in such a way that you know the exact processes they use to make a decision or take an action so that you can build that into your language so that they feel compelled to do it automatically. And then finally, you've gotten a taste of it. We're going to teach you how to take all of that and emotionally bond anyone's deepest desires to what you want them to do so that they happily want to do it. Would that be useful? If you think that's useful, type it in. Ooh, we got 32 messages. Cool. Now, we're also going to include in this package a 230 pages, might be 200, somewhere between 280 and 240 pages, a manual that teaches you, not only has chapters on all the things we've talked about, it has maps on cold reading, lie detection, attraction, authority, all the different things that cause people to want to do what you want them to do. These are called psychological leveraging techniques. These are things that are not linguistically based, that you can engineer within your environment. Things like, well, there's this process called embodied cognition, where if you give somebody a warm drink to hold, they will tend to think of you with more emotional warmth than if you give them a cold drink to hold. Where to sit at a table or negotiation to give you the most psychological leverage on people, how to cold read them, how to face read them, so you can actually develop a personality profile that allows you to know what emotional buttons to press. That's included in the Killer Influence Master Text. It's a $418 value. You're also going to get access, and we're going to talk more about this later. You're going to get unlimited access for a short amount of time to our online community with over more than 210 active members, where you can actually talk to people, practice your skills, and get people to give you feedback on what you do. It's called the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. If you took all this together and went to the website and tried to buy it today, you're looking at total value of $2,497. However, just like the commercial says, but wait, there's more. If you grab this Secrets of Human Influence course today, we're also going to give you these exclusive special bonuses. And this is what it is. Bonus number 1. This is the most powerful persuasion technique ever devised. Weapons of Mass Instruction is all about the one persuasion technique that makes cultures happen, that has caused more people to go to war, that has caused more people to sue for peace, that has bonded families together, and that is the structure and the story and the formulas for creating powerful and compelling story based on neuroscience. This is one of the most powerful persuasion tools on the planet. And it was one of the most frustrating ones for me, because every time I went to learn a storytelling workshop, I got the same fluff. And I realized that if there was going to be a course that's fulfilled the desire that people have for doing story and narrative well and easily, I was going to have to create it. If you've ever seen guys like T. Harv Eker or Mark Victor Hansen or Lisa Sasevich or Tony Robbins talk to a room and then have them all get up and rush to the back of the room to do whatever the person on stage said, this is one of the most important courses you're going to have. It's going to teach you how to create stories on the fly to connect with people, teach stories that will inspire and motivate people and get them to want to do what you want them to do. It's going to teach you how to create stories that eliminate resistance to persuasion, so that you have people who just takes all the resistance out of them and makes them want to do what you want them to do. The strategic benefit to story is that it changes people's minds and it influences attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors in the background. The final module in this course is called Ninja Stories. And this is where you learn to use story and metaphor as a delivery method for some of the most powerful and persuasive NLP-based techniques. We'll teach you how to prime people's behaviors, how to change their attitudes, how to link emotions to to yourself and to other people, how to semantically prime, how to build words that make people think and feel the way you want them to feel and cause them to take the actions you want them to take. We're going to teach you the architecture of how to create stories that neurologically make people do this. Okay, we're going to pull back the curtain on it. We're going to show you all the neuroscience. We're going to teach you the 6 characteristics of a powerful hypnotic story. And we're going to give you a mechanism so that you can actually test the hypnotic power of your stories to focus groups or whatever, so you can actually modify your stories and make them more powerful. It's very powerful. It's fun. It's easy to do. If you've ever gone to a story workshop and all they told you about was the hero's journey, this is not that. Okay, so this is, again, one of the most powerful programs that we have, but you must have the CPI level 1 or Killer Influence level 1 training to be able to do this. Okay, it's a $1,950 value. We're going to include this as part of your Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion training package, absolutely free, for a combined value of $4,447 when you register now before the end of the webinar. We're also going to include, some of you are asking about this. This is called Renegade Reframing, and it's how to overcome any objection or change any belief in seconds. This is, think about this for a moment. What if you had, if you've ever asked somebody to do something and they've had an objection, or they had a belief that wasn't useful. What if for every belief or objection they gave you, you had as many as 14 different answers to that objection, 14 different ways to change a belief before you started adding them together? Would that make your life easier? Yes or yes? Noah is asking, David, is Stealth CPI 2022 advanced if I haven't watched the original? No, it's fine, Noah, okay? This is based on a set of patterns that Robert Dilts modeled from Richard Bandler when he was challenging his with people who had price objections or things of that nature. This is one of the most powerful courses that you can have. It'll give you 14 different ways to reframe every belief that people might throw at you. Once again, it's recorded live. It's a $1,950 value. We're going to throw this in for you absolutely free for a combined value of $6,397 if you register before the end of the webinar. We're also going to include, how many of you present to groups of people for a living, or need those kinds of skill sets? If you are, this is probably going to be one of the most important courses that we include as a bonus. This is called Charisma on Command, and it's hypnotic presentation skills for presenters and public speakers. This is literally where we pull back the curtain on the system behind the system. We're going to teach you, first and foremost, the architecture of persuasion. We're going to teach you exactly how A-list speakers like T. Harv Eker, Mark Victor Hansen, Lisa Sasevich, David Singer create presentations, right? We're going to teach you basic stagecraft. We're going to teach you about spatial anchoring and nested loops and all those other cool things. But most importantly, what we're going to do is we're going to deconstruct the actual transcripts of presentations from some of these A-list presenters and show you the hidden NLP, show you the hidden hypnotic language patterns, show you how they've structured these things so that you can begin to do it yourself to create powerful and compelling presentations that have people rushing to the back of the room to take the actions you want them to take. Whether that's to practice a skill set you're trying to give them, whether it's to sign up for your free product or service, to take their coaching membership to the next level. This is the system that the people who have speakers trainings are not going to teach you, because there's two levels that they teach at. There's the one they teach their trainers, and then there's the one that they actually use, which has all the hidden NLP and the spatial anchoring and all these other things embedded in it. We're going to show you how that works so that you can use it benevolently for yourself. This was also, all these come with manuals. It's a total value of $1,950. We're going to give this to you absolutely free for a combined value of $8,347 if you register before the end of the webinar. So let's just look at what we've got here. Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion Training Protocol comes with the 17 video, 7-stage universal persuasion protocol. It's a $2,779 value. We're going to include the Killer Influence Master Text, which is $418 value. Are we having some problems in the YouTube chat? I'm good now? Okay. Sorry, there was some problems with the YouTube folks were having. So anyway, we're going to give you access to the NLP online community, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. This, and by the way, the online community part is probably one of the most important pieces of this whole package, because it's not enough to just watch the videos. It's not enough to just have access to you need people to practice with. You need people to bounce stuff off. You need people to practice drills with. And that's what our online community is about. You know, a lot of my students, you know, when they're not in a class, they feel kind of like they're these wandering. Fawn is asking, how do we register? Give me 1 second, Fawn, and I'll show you how to do that. they feel like the wandering wizards alone in the wilderness, and a lot of people come to the trainings just to see their friends again. So that community is what's the most important piece. We're going to throw in the weapons of mass instruction, neuroscientific storytelling secrets, $1,950 value. We're going to give you the renegade reframing, objection obliteration, and speed conversational belief change, $1,950 value. I'm going to give you charisma on command, hypnotic presentation skills, $1,950 value. Total value, $8,347. However, for today only, I'm going to give you the best deal humanly possible. For today only, you won't have to pay $8,347. You won't have to pay $6,347. You're not even going to have to pay $5,347. We're not even going to charge you $3,347. Not going to do $2,347. For today only, you can get everything that we've just talked about and a whole lot more, actually. You can get it all for one low installment of just $997, or if it's easier for you, you can do it all in 3 easy installments of just $399. All you need to do to get these packages and claim these is to, hold on a second. Okay, there's a different link here. Okay, is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go, or use the link that is directly in the chat next to you. Oops, okay. So go to www.killerinfluence.com/go, or the Secrets of Human Influence training package. Is all of this in the Killer Influence course? Everything except the 3 bonus packages, the Renegade Reframing and the Art of Conversational Belief Change, strategic storytelling secrets, and charisma on command. Those are all extras. Now, lest you think that I'm done, I'm not. Everything that we just talked about comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. If Secrets of Human Influence doesn't help you with exactly how to make more money, close more deals, get more dates, bond with people more effectively, if it doesn't allow you to feel more confident, secure, and powerful when dealing with people in any social encounter, I'll refund your money. If it doesn't work for you, I don't want your funds. I'm going to give them back. Okay. And you can keep the course as my way of saying thank you for giving us a shot. All right. To get yours now, all you got to do is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. And for those of you who may be on the fence, for those of you who would like even more, anybody here? For those of you who are really committed to taking your life to the next level, I've got something else for you. If you grab your course before September 9th, 2020 at 11:59 p.m., the end of this webinar, I will include in your package these following fast action bonuses. We're going to include a 3-month trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Practice Group and Archive. This is a group that I've been running for 10 solid years. We have archived and videotaped every single training session we've ever done. You will get complete access to the archive and the ability to participate in our monthly online practice groups for a full 3 months. If you like it, sign up at the end of the 3-month trial. If you're not, you met some cool people, you did some cool stuff, you got everything that we talked about at the beginning of this training. It's a $594 value. I'm going to include this for you absolutely free because you need the hands-on, because you need with your tribe, and you need an opportunity to practice and review and get feedback on your material. You're going to have questions that need answering, and this is what it's about. This is about helping you get the life you want the way that you want it. right? It's a combined value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free, 3-month trial membership, right? Combined value of $8,941. But we're also going to include, for those of you who want to get started really fast, who would like to download something today and hypnotize people tomorrow or even sooner, we're including a very special stealth instant conversational hypnosis crash course. It's a $997 value. This is going to cover instant and rapid inductions. It's going to cover 3 magic questions protocol. It's there. I think this one actually might include some of our hidden laws of attraction stuff. It's going to teach you, it's going to have some meetup footage of me teaching these 3 magic questions. It's going to have the 7 most powerful hypnotic language patterns, how to use them, how they work, what their structures are. So you can just go out into the world and start using this right away, right? We're going to throw this in for you absolutely free. Total value. I think this one also has a copy of Lie to Me If You Dare in it. As well as Anchors in Action and Hypnotic Hot Buttons. I think this one might have those extra bonuses in it. So this will be included. It's a $997 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free just for signing up before the end of the webinar. It's a combined value of $9,938. Brandon, if you already have Stealth, reach out to Stephanie and we will substitute a product or program of equal or lesser value. Okay, so yeah, we'll switch it out for you. That's one of the things that I'm going to talk about. We do a lot of things at NLP Power that a lot of other trainers and a lot of other information product people don't do. And I'm going to explain those after we're done with the offer so that you can appreciate. Thank you, Jessica. David, you're a fucking gem. Excellent. Thanks, Dragon Lord David. Awesome. So lest you think I'm done, for those of you, for the next 15 people who grab this package now before the end of the webinar, I'm going to include 1 VIP super ticket. This super ticket gives you free admission to any single live event of 5 days or less of your choice in my 2020-2021 calendar. It's limited to the first 15 people who register today. Some restrictions do apply. Any training that's 5 days or less, you can use this for. If you want to do something that's 5 days or 6 days or longer, you need two tickets or you pay the difference. That's all. Also, certain numbers of my classes have prerequisites. If you have not satisfied the prerequisite, you need to go ahead and satisfy that prerequisite before we can let you in the class. Okay. Other than that, it doesn't matter if it's an online class. It doesn't matter if it's an in-person class. It doesn't matter what the price of the class is. If the class is full or not, if you have one of these tickets and you want to attend a class, we will find a seat for you. In fact, you'll go right to the head of the line. Now, the best thing about our VIP tickets is that they never expire. And what I mean by that is you have it until you use it. So if you get this package today and it takes you 2 years to come to a live event, it's still waiting for you when you use it. If you sign up for a training using your ticket and something comes up at the last minute that you can't go, all you do is you pick up the phone or you email Stephanie. We will move you to a different training of your choice. If something happens at a training, we add a training at the last minute and you want to go, all you do is pick up the phone, let Stephanie know. She will move you to the head of the line for that training. Okay. You can gift this if you want to bring somebody to a training, you can give them your ticket and they'll come for you, right? You have it until you use it. You don't, and if something happens at the last minute, again, a lot of chat going on. I'll let you guys deal with that, right? And if there's any questions about any of this stuff, Stephanie can help you. Brandon can help you. Seth can help you to a certain degree. Total value, $1,950, yours free. Now, let me explain a little bit about the price point aspect of this, because when we start traveling internationally again, we always use, with the exception of Australia and Canada, we always use the local currency. So if we go to someplace like Europe where everything's in euros, or we go to Great Britain where everything is in British pounds, which is actually makes the trainings more expensive for all the rest of us, the price point of the seminar doesn't matter. If you have one of these VIP tickets, you walk right in regardless of the price point, right? As long as you qualify for the class, you can use this ticket, right? If you can't get to a live event, if you know you're not going to be able to ever go to a live event and you want to trade that VIP ticket for an additional digital course, there are times when we'll actually let you do that too. So if you took everything that we've got together, including this VIP ticket, you're looking at a combined value of $11,888. $11,888. Hold on a second. That's not going through for some reason. YouTube redirect. All right, Brandon, I don't know if you can go to, hold on a second, http://www.killerinfluence.com/go. That'll get you the pack. For those of you in YouTube, for those of you wanting this. Okay. Okay. So here's what you're getting. Total, if we want to summarize, you're going to get the Secrets of Human Influence home study course valued at $2,079. You're going to get the Secrets of Human Influence Killer Influence Master Text, a $418 value. We're going to give that to you free. We're going to give you the Weapons of Mass Instruction Storytelling and Neuroscience course, $1,950 value. You're going to get it for free. Objection Obliteration, Renegade Reframing, and the Art of Conversational Belief Change, $1,950 value. You're going to get it for free. Charisma and Conversion, 1,000 hypnotic presentation skills for presenters and public speakers, $1,950, absolutely free. You're going to get 3-month trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program, valued at $594, and access to the video archive, all 10 years of it. We're going to give it to you for free. We're going to give you the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course. It's a $997 value. You can download it tonight, start hypnotizing people tomorrow or even sooner. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. And for those of you who really want to take your skills to the next level, for those of you who want to get face-to-face for 5, 6, 7, 3, 5, 7 days with me in a room, where I can program you, give you feedback, interact with you, and get to know you and teach you what you most need to know, the way you most need to know it. We're going to give you this VIP super ticket, but it's only good for the next 15 people who register for that live event or for this package. When I log off the webinar, the VIP ticket goes away. So if it's something you know will help you, will take your life to the next level, you owe it to yourself to grab one of those 15 seats. It's a $1,950 value, probably more. We're going to include it as part of your Secrets of Human Influence package for free. All you need to do, it's total value of $11,888. You're going to get all of this stuff for one low price today, one low installment of just $997. Or if you need the extra help, we can break it up into 3 easy payments of just $397. All you need to do to get your package is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go, www.killerinfluence.com/go. So while you guys are doing that, I'm going to go ahead and answer questions that you may have. Allegra Kitty says, David, you give beyond awesome value. A master for sure. Agreed, Allegra. Jessica saying, you two should bond. Let's see. Kujim says, Crixus, the darkness flees from light, but light may perceive. Okay, there's weird conversations going on there. So let's go ahead and just typing this into the so www.killerinfluence.com/go. So Brandon is saying, can I move my package over to an existing NLP Power account? I panicked and just threw it in there. Stephanie or Brandon can help you with that, Brandon. Okay. Brandon squared. Excellent, excellent. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to take a 5-minute bio break while you guys do this. I'm going to come back, answer any questions you have. And then if it's okay with you, I'd like to go back and pick up where we left off on teaching you the template that we use for the emotional bonding checklist. And then depending on where you guys want to go, we can drill down on some other things. Is that cool? If that's good with you, type it in the chat. Cool. All right, you guys are awesome. Reach out to Stephanie or Brandon. Have a good pee. Thank you. Reach out to Stephanie or Brandon. And when I get back, maybe sooner than 5 minutes, we're going to go ahead and get back to our class for today. Fawn, these are all certifications. They're certification classes. So you won't get certified online unless you can submit proof of work. All right. But yeah, for all the classes we offer in the package, these are videos of actual certification classes. But to get a certification, unless it's you make special arrangements, you must at the class to get the certification. All right. I'll see you guys in 5.
David, you're muted.
So do you guys have any questions about anything I've talked about so far? When can I move to the US? All right. Well, I don't know. I just heard that the White House just said that international travel is they're stop test. Okay. I don't know. I see weird stuff on Yahoo all the time. Crixus on YouTube is asking about nested loops, and one of the things that I want to talk about with the weapons of mass instruction course is that it's about there's more ways to embed things within story than just what is commonly referred to as a nested loop. And one of the things that we do in both weapons of mass instruction and in Charisma and Charisma on Command is we actually deconstruct transcripts of presentations done by guys like T. Harv Eker, and we literally show you all the buried NLP, all the priming, all the different bells and whistles that he's building into his presentations that he doesn't that he doesn't teach to the people who take his trainer's training, that are all the system behind the system. If you ever wondered how these people can get these cult followings and get these people screaming and stampeding to the back of the room, that one deconstruction is worth the entire course. Can I do the change beliefs now? Of course I can. It's not that I can do it now, it's just I haven't done it yet. Fishball's just had a message retracted. Kathleen McLean, welcome to the Diamond Masterclass level. Very good. Yep, Kathleen just joined our Diamond level mastermind. Welcome to the jungle. Welcome to the family. All right. So that being said, I think our 5 minutes is about up. So with your permission, I'm going to go ahead and jump back to my template. So when we start working, okay, first of all, let's review really quick. The echo technique is where everything begins. Actually, no, let me show you where everything begins. Okay. Since we're on that time now, if you need more questions, you have more questions, go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. You can call Stephanie at 858-282-4663 or email her, Stephanie@nlppower.com. Kathleen says she's stuck in Canada, so excited to at least be able to connect this way. We're glad you're here, Kathleen. We really are. So let me go back to my PowerPoint. I want to teach you the Universal Persuasion Protocol, and I want to give you kind of the big picture, and then we're going to jump right into the template, and then we'll circle around, and then we'll do either 3 magic questions or some of the sleight of mouth patterns. Let's see here. Where's my, here it is. Here we go. Okay. Oops. Come on, where'd my little screen sharing thing go? Oh God. You ever have one of those days when your stuff just keeps jumping around on you? Okay, let's try that again. All right, so here's where everything starts. You have your echo technique. You have an understanding of the criterion values, which if you'll notice here is the center of the persuasion bullseye. No matter what techniques you're using, the center of the persuasion bullseye is always going to be the emotional bonding checklist. In NLP, that's known as criterion values. Okay, this is where things get nuclear. You want to link whatever you offer to whatever they most want and need, and you want to use their words to do it. Now, write that down. Link whatever they want and need to whatever you're offering or what you want them to do, using their words to do it. That it should be your rule of thumb no matter where you go. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, okay? You got, before you enter any form of persuasion interaction, you must first know your outcome. You must know exactly what it is that you want to achieve. If you don't know what you want, you won't know if you're getting it. Okay. The next thing you have to do is control your state. Then you get rapport. Then you use whatever language skills that you have. If all you know is echo technique, that's what you use. To go back to Crick's question about nested loops, if all I know is nested loops, that's what I'm going to use, right? If all I know are embedded commands, that's what I'm going to use. If all I know is active listening, that's what I'm going to use. It's a placeholder and tells you what to emphasize next. We call this the universal persuasion protocol. And when you understand it, it will allow you to influence people anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances, for any reason. Okay, so you're going to know your outcome. You're going to control your state. You're going to get rapport. You're going to use your language. You're going to use that to manage their state. You're going to jump into whatever process they use. You're going to link to whatever criteria and values you can elicit. Now, here's the best part of this. There's one technique that will do all of that without having to jump through any hoops. It's called the echo technique. Using the echo technique, you can get rapport. Using the echo technique, you can use your language to entrain their neurology, create validation and acceptance. You can use it to manage their state. You can automatically extract from the words that you echo the process, that the thinking processes and strategies that they use. And because you're using the echo technique, you automatically, indirectly wind up linking yourself to their criteria and values. One technique does 80% of this. And that's before you learn any other ways of doing it. So here's what I want you to write down. In your notes, I want you to write down: know your outcome, control your state, get rapport, use your language. Use those three to manage the state of the subject. You can control your state. You can only manage the states of other people. Then you jump into whatever process they use. NLP calls those strategies. And you emotionally bond to their criteria and values, using their words, using their drills, okay? If you understand this, this is a formula that you can apply anywhere. You walk into a networking function and you want to influence people, but you don't know what to do. First thing is establish your outcome. Second thing you're going to do is control your state. Next thing you're going to do is target a person and get rapport. You're going to use whatever language skills you have to manage the state of the subject. You're going to jump into whatever processes they use to take the action or make the decision you want them to make. And you're going to emotionally bond yourself, your product, or your service to their criteria and values. If you're going into a bar or a reception and you see someone attractive and you want to get with them in some way, you look at them, you make a decision, you determine your outcome. You're going to meet them, you're going to say hi, you're going to determine if they're cool. You're going to control your state, you're going to get rapport, you're going to use your language. You're going to use those three to manage the state of the person you want to attract. You're going to manage their state, you're going to jump into whatever process they use for selecting somebody to date or become attracted to. You're going to jump into that process and you're going to emotionally bond yourself to what is emotionally appealing and attractive to them. You're going to go into a courtroom, right? You're going to go into a negotiation. You're going to know your outcome. You're going to control your state. You're going to get rapport. You're going to use your language. You're going to use those three to manage their state. You're going to jump into whatever process they use to make the decision you want them to make or take the action you want them to take. You're going to emotionally bond to their criteria and values. And you're going to meet it. It doesn't matter if it's the courtroom, the bar room, the negotiation room, the meeting room, the bedroom. It's the same universal process. And when you get really, really good at this, you can leave out half of it and still get your outcome. Okay? It tells you what to do next. Does that make sense? You guys with me? Control your state doesn't necessarily mean you're focused, although focus can be a part of that. How many of you are in our diamond or platinum level membership on YouTube? I think it was it the last mastermind we did? I did a whole section on state control. Oh no, it was a YouTube live I did for our platinum and diamond people, where I went through state control. If you're a member of the diamond or platinum level, you can go to YouTube, type in the Labor Day Live with Dr. David, and you'll get a crash course in some of the state control stuff. In the live events that we do, we spend almost a whole day and almost a whole day, just under at least a half to 3/4 of a day on nothing but state control and how to use that to influence people without speaking. Okay, so if you're interested in that, and by the way, for those of you who are wondering, state control is actually one of our secret weapons. Nobody has better state control training in the world than we do. And if there were such a thing as the Jedi powers, it comes from your state control, not your language. Language is fun and language is powerful, but it's amplified by what you do with your body and what you do with your mind and your emotions. So if you understand state control and you really understand it, 80% of your influence and persuasion is done before you even open your mouth. Okay, so for those, Chris Stombaugh is online. He can tell you, he puts the whammy on people with this all the time professionally, right? And what we saw before, there's no top level to the state control. It just keeps getting deeper. Is there a course on state control? Yes, Jackie. It's in CPI 1 and it's in Killer Influence. It's in Killer Influence. Okay. And that training is included in your Secrets of Human Influence package. So if you grab the package we're offering, you're going to get it a bunch of different ways. Existential crisis worthy training. You think you got control? Think again. Take his course. Thank you, Jackie. Or not Jackie, Jessica. That was Jessica, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So everything that I've shared with you prior to that diagram I just showed you, and everything after, presupposes you have an understanding of the universal persuasion protocol. Now, we have 3, 5, and 7-day trainings where we drill down on this. We're doing an 8-day training on integrative NLP and hypnotherapy. This is going to be an intrinsic part of that training because it makes everything easy. It makes everything NLP teaches and all the complex algorithms and formulas and all that stuff, but simple, easy to apply. Is the course online? Luminous one is asking, is your course online? Which course specifically are you asking about? Okay. Okay, so let me see where I'm going. Okay, so let's go to the template now. Let's jump back to criteria and values. Okay. So the emotional bonding checklist. How to emotionally bond people to your product, you, or your service, and to make them want to do what you want them to do. The emotional bonding checklist, let me see if I can, there we go. The emotional bonding checklist relates to a category of beliefs known in NLP as criteria and values. Functionally, criteria and values are checklists by which we decide if something is right or desirable in our personal reality. People have personal and unique emotional bonding checklists for everything that they make or action they take. This is important. People automatically create an emotional bonding checklist for anything they can conceive of. You know, if you're talking to a 20-year-old about life insurance, now most 20-year-olds have never, ever thought about life insurance. But if you were to ask them the criteria question, what's important about life insurance, they would actually tell you in their world what would be important about life insurance, and it would be emotionally relevant to them. So all emotional bonding checklists are context dependent. There are certain things that are not context dependent. We'll talk about those in Killer Influence and NLP training. A person cannot tolerate having their values violated without experiencing emotional pain. A person cannot process their criteria and values without experiencing emotion and desire. Okay, this is very important because you think, a lot of times when people start doing this, they think that the person will get bored if you keep talking about the same things. They won't. In fact, if someone says, I'll give you an example really quick. If somebody says, if you ask them what's important about having a lot of money, they'll say freedom and security, right? And I know that that's deep level criteria for them. If all I have to do to get a rise out of them is just look at them and say, freedom and security, freedom and security, freedom and security, freedom and security. And it will provoke, every time they hear it, it will provoke an emotional response. It's a hot button. Okay. Now, we're going to be a little bit more elegant with our approach, but we want to find ways to work these power words and these criterion value and emotional bonding words into everything we say and do. Okay. Okay. Brandon says, you're always elegant with those vests. Why, thank you. All right. All right. Let's jump back to the notes here. Okay. When you link a person's emotional needs to you, your product, or your service, they become internally compelled to want and acquire it. Criterion values, or the emotional bonding checklist, has 3 parts. The checklist is equivalent to the parameters that need to be satisfied. When that checklist is met, the body generates a feeling, and then the person gives that feeling a name. To review, the 2 most important questions to ask when we're eliciting criteria and values are, what's important about the product, service, or experience, and how do you know? These are going to give you the greatest degree of power over this process. Okay. Here's the template that we use for the emotional bonding process. And this involves a process called softening. So let me talk about softening really quick. A softener is a reason why. A softener is a preframe that lubricates the question. And makes it less invasive. So if I were to say to you, what's important about this, getting the tools from this webinar? You would give me you would probably give me good information, but you might feel a little bit defensive when I ask that, because it's very invasive, right? But if I were to look at you and say, okay, so just so I understand you better, and so that I can really target the information in this webinar to the things that are most important to you, I'm curious about something. If you were to get the tools you need to get what you want from this webinar, what's important about that to you? Can you see how the difference between what's important about getting the things from this webinar versus so I can understand you better and target things better, what's important to you about getting things from this webinar? Can you feel the difference in the level of invasiveness? Can you comment on that? So no. So Jessica's saying, this is where state control really matters. I find it difficult sometimes to use softeners when I'm amped up to help. Yes, that's why state control has to come first, because without state control, you're going to lose access to your cognitive abilities. You're not going to be able to get rapport. You're not going to be able to soften. You're not going to be able to strategize. You're not going to be able to pay attention. That's why state control must always, always, always be first, and why we spend so much time on it. And it pisses me off when I go to trainings where everybody talks about state control and how important it is, and they never teach you how to fucking do it. Sorry, I get a little angry, but this is one of my biggest pet peeves with the hypnosis world, the NLP world, a lot of the self-help worlds, and even in sales. They tell you to control your state, and then they give you these complex techniques for doing it. Fuck that. If it's too complicated to do in a seminar room, you're not going to do it out in the real world. So we've simplified it. We've made it ultra user-friendly and ultra simple. But it has to be first, because if you can't control your state, There's lots of well-trained, highly funded agencies out there with 3 letters or more that are happy to do it for you, right? Milana says, that's why you're voted the #1. Well, thank you for that. I'm sure it pissed off a lot of my colleagues, but yeah, state control. And again, like Chris Stombaugh here is on our Zoom channel. Chris is a professional litigator. He's a personal injury attorney, and he uses this stuff all the time on hostile judges and juries and things of that nature with complete integrity and complete ethical considerations. And he'll tell you that this stuff just gets stronger, and it takes whatever you apply to it. The state control level is like the energizer. It's like the engine that drives everything. And the more emotional energy you can put into your words and into your gestures and into your body language, the more powerful everything else becomes. Okay. Okay. So anyway, let me go back to that. I'm going to get off my soapbox now. All right. So softeners, here are some examples. Write these down. I was wondering, I'm curious, let me ask you this so I understand you better, or I like just so I understand you better. Just so I understand you better. This is in NLP and in conversational hypnosis, people who are really, really good, guys like Socrates. What's the other guy? Plato. Socrates specifically. Soften, soften, soften. To the untrained observer or the untrained student, softening sounds a lot like making the technique weaker. It actually makes it more ninja. When in doubt, soften. You cannot soften too much. It completely, softening completely makes your stuff conversational. It basically gives the person a reason why. It basically says to the person, this is why I'm about to tell you what I'm about to tell you. So there's lots of other softeners that you could use. These are just examples. Okay. You can come up with your own list, but you're going to see, going back up to our template, we start with, we ask a question. Hold on a minute. Where's my template? Okay. So the template that we follow is we ask a question. We validate the question. We soften. We echo. We ask again. That's the formula. So actually, if you really want to get technical, we should actually start off by softening. There's your template. Soften, ask the question, validate, soften, echo, ask again. So if we follow this formula, say, so I'm curious, if you were to get everything you wanted from this webinar training, and you got the tools that you needed, what would the tools get for you? What would that do for you? And they're going to say, well, it's going to get me the ability to influence people, to help more people, to get control of my life. And I go, excellent. I agree totally. The tools in this webinar will absolutely give you the ability to help more people and get more out of life the way you want it. So just so I understand you better, if you were to have those tools that will allow you to get more out of life and to help more people, I'm curious if you would be able to do that. What's important to you about that? What's important to you about that? And they're going to give me an answer. I'm going to soften. I'm going to validate. I'm going to echo. I'm going to ask again. Do you see that how it's circular that way? I'm going to use their words as often as possible. You might hear some noise in the background because my kids just came home. So echo, validate, soften, ask again, right? What's important about? If there's any vagary in what they said, these are the two options, right? You have echo, validate, soften, ask again, what's important about, or echo, validate, soften, ask again, how do you know? That's it. That's really all you need. And now remember, whenever possible, use their words. Use their words, right? And people will just run off at the mouth. They will give you all kinds of information. When it's time for you to talk about your product or service, use those words. When it's time to talk about your product or service, talk only about the aspects of your product or service that will directly fulfill the emotional needs. You guys with me on this? Cool. All right. Do you have the template? Michael Phillips says kind of. Okay. Michael, if you have a question, ask it now because I'm getting ready to move on to something else. Can I shrink it so you can screen capture it? Sorry, there's a few things that are on top of each other here. I use OneNote instead of PowerPoint because I do a lot of things dynamically. So which part do you want to see? This? Saucy is saying when you're the #1 practitioner in the world, so you can never say no to your kids when they want ice cream. We have ice cream every night. My wife actually makes it. Okay. Let me know when you guys are done. I don't have a problem with you guys having this. So. And again, that's, who was this just said this? G is saying to all panelists, this is overwhelming for me. I just want to start with Echo and build it, get it perfect, then go from there. That's actually the best thing to do. One of the first things I tell all my Killer Influence students is, let me jump out of, can I share, can I go back to face-to-face mode for a minute? In a minute. People just want my notes. They don't want me. Got it. You repeated my words. Felt good. Yes, it did, didn't it? It's nice when people repeat your words, doesn't it? Isn't it, Jerry? Right? Makes you feel heard, makes you feel understood, right? Move the screen down. Here we go. Chris Anderson says, David, if you make me any more popular with the ladies, it will be peach blossom disaster. Kimberly Roberts says, oh, sure, sure. Thanks for the crash course, Dave. Right? Can you show the part in red? By the way, when you get your package, you're going to get this covered in spades. So, lady in red. Grant, can we get this template somewhere? You'll find it in most of my Killer Influence trainings. You'll find it in some of the CPI trainings. Or you can just screenshot it here if you want. Okay, so does everybody have all this stuff down? Can I move on? Yeah, the nice thing is this, there will be a replay on YouTube. So if you need to go back and screen capture this, it is available. And again, you don't have to believe a single freaking thing I tell you. Just go and start doing this with people and watch the response that you get. Watch for that Shen-in moment when those eyes light up. Lady Tavora, it's probably because they weren't doing it congruently and they weren't softening, right? But remember, if people are echoing your words, it's either an instant deep level of rapport or they've got an agenda. You just got to figure out what that agenda is and decide how you want it to affect you, right? And you should be a little suspicious when people echo your words until you're sure, until you've gotten your profiling skills down enough that you can validate if this is somebody who you want to let influence you. Remember, part of the process or part of the reason I'm sharing this with you is so that you can become more aware. Remember this, anything outside of your awareness is outside of your control. But the corollary to that is this, just because you're not aware of it doesn't mean it isn't impacting you. I'll give you a really quick story. Back in 2012, I was invited to go to Israel. It was one of my first corporate trainings. I was invited to go and teach for a security company out there. And I had to teach the VIPs, vice presidents. I had to teach the marketing department, and I had to teach the R&D division. And I was sitting in I was teaching the R&D people, and there was this one guy, he's just sitting there looking up at me. And I'm teaching him the echo technique because there was a big breakdown in the communication between the R&D people and the salespeople, right? And this guy's, and first of all, let me just say point blank, I love Israel. I love the Israeli people, but I got to tell you, when they welcome you as part of the family, they're open, they're the most giving, loving, some of the loving people that will bend over backward. Believe it or not, they will actually bend over backwards. But they are one of the toughest audiences I have ever had. Every single day was a contest to see who would win, because they would come in as a group and they would all sit in the back of the room, right? And I would have 5 rows of chairs. They would sit in the last 3. And I would say, could you all move up to the front for me so we can talk? And they would all go. And nothing I did would get them to move. And so I said, well, you know, I'm always going to call on the last people in the row. They got up as a group and moved to the front. Every day they came in, it was a contest to see how to get them to sit in the front row. The second day they came in, I had to take the first 2 rows out so they were in the front row. So anyway, I'm teaching the R&D people, which are all professional, smart guys. And this one guy is just sitting in a chair and he's looking like this. Like, you ever sit next to a guy who just farted? And the guy's just looking at me. And at some point he just gets, you can tell he just can't stand it anymore. Looks at me and goes, I don't believe it. I go, you don't believe what? I said, I don't believe this will work. I said, you don't believe this will work? He goes, no, I don't believe this will work. And for the next 5 minutes, all I did was echo him. And all of his friends are sitting there looking at him like, right? He didn't catch it. After about 5 or 6 minutes, I did that for about 5 or 6 minutes just to prove my point to everybody else. I looked at him, and with the most humble, softened approach that I could, I said, sir, do you realize that for the last 5 minutes, I've done nothing but give you back your very own words? And he looked at me like I was full of shit. And he looked at his friend to his right. His friend went. He looked at his friend to his left. His friend went. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen like Bugs Bunny cartoons or Yosemite Sam, where like the guy eats too much hot sauce and he gets really, and the temperature rises and steam comes out of their ears. That was this guy. He turned beet red. And then he got this defeated look on his face. He looked at me and he goes, are we really so stupid? And I looked at him and I said, no, you're not stupid. You're selfish. Every neurology on the planet is selfish. It's moving through the world looking for itself. And when it finds a match on the outside to the person you are on the inside, it bonds to it. And it doesn't want to let it go. Your job is to make yourself match a person's internal world to the greatest degree possible. And they will happily go wherever you lead them. And they will enjoy it. They will want to bond. They will not want to give it up. Okay? But because it is a process that can be engineered, you must understand that when you catch people doing this, you must exhibit a greater level of awareness, a greater level of curiosity to determine where this person is coming from. Because if you don't, then you're abdicating that importance of awareness. Does that make sense? You're allowed to use this to get everything you want by helping other people get whatever they want. It is never necessary to lie, to cheat, to steal. Anybody who tells you otherwise, they're not right. or they're working in applications that are not win-win. And that's not where we're going. There are certain applications like my colleague Chase Hughes, Chris Stombaugh, they work in situations where win-win is not always possible. Hostage negotiation, interrogation, courtrooms, they're adversarial scenarios. Win-wins aren't always an option, right? But for the vast majority of us, that ability to create that mutual win is part and parcel of what we do as human beings, right? But it can be misused. So remember that this is as much a self-defense course as it is an empowerment course. It's empowering you in multiple ways to get everything you want by finding out exactly what that other person wants, matching yourself to it, and showing them demonstratively how to do it, right? Questions on that? Assertion mastery. I don't know what assertion mastery is, but so where do you got? I have a little bit more time. So I have time for like one more technique or one more area. Where do you guys want to go next? Where do you guys want to go next? Type it in the chat. "13." Brand, I don't know what that means. I3. Okay, belief changes. Okay. All right. Oh, I see belief changes, hypnotic magic questions, hypnotic language. Okay, I've got one for each. Now I need a majority. Profile recognition, state change. Okay, we can't cover, we got to keep the course on language-based stuff for today. I'll do other webinars in the future. We'll talk about all the other non-language-based stuff. But state control, we've got videos on that. We've got courses on that. Profile recognition, those kinds of things are covered in body language and how to decode. All right, let's talk a little bit about belief changes, okay? So one of the things that, that is really cool is that all beliefs are built the same way. All beliefs are built the same way. Let me go ahead and pull up my notes on this for you guys. Okay, so I can't give you all the patterns, but for those of you who grab the Secrets of Human Influence package, you'll get access to all the patterns that we're going to talk about, or we're going to tease you about at least. Okay, so first and foremost, when you start applying the echo technique within the reframing patterns that we're going to do, it gets even more powerful. So once again, just to review, the echo sequence is soften, ask, validate, echo, soften, ask again. This will force the person's autonomic nervous system to pay attention to you. It activates and primes people for self-disclosure. It signals sameness, trust, connection, and bonding. And it creates a feeling of being validated or accepted by the subject. Sleight of mouth. So sleight of mouth is, again, the name of our course is called Renegade Reframing. And it's included in your Secrets of Human Influence package. Finish level 1 before you go into level 2. It's based on a series of 14 patterns that were modeled by Robert Dilts during his observations of Richard Bandler. Okay. Michael Hall later on expanded those patterns to 24 different patterns. Now, as I looked at all that, when I was doing my research on these patterns, I found out that a lot of the patterns were the 24 that Michael was talking about, in my opinion, again, this is strictly my opinion, many of the 24 were actually variants of the 14. So I just focused on the 14 core ones. When we start playing with conversational belief change, I want to talk to you about the rule of 3. And what that means is when these patterns are powerful in singles, but when you do them in triplets, they will decimate any belief system. Many times when you use some of these patterns, the first one won't get the job done. You may have to use 1, 2, 3, 4 patterns. That's why it's important to know all of them. We don't have time for every single one. There's 2 ways to use to use these patterns. There's what we call the softening method, and there's the blunt force trauma method. A lot of the people from the Bandler School of Reframing, they do what I call the blunt force trauma method. Okay. In other words, they're just going to club you over the head with this. Whereas people who are more of the Kenrick Cleveland school, I don't know anybody else who really falls into this category. Maybe Doug O'Brien. They're going to soften the pre-frames or the reframes. So Laura's asking, are we talking about the 7 plus or minus 2? Are those the patterns you're talking about? No. The Magnificent 7 plus or minus 2 are specific hypnotic language patterns that each do a specific thing. Cause and effect causes whatever you want in the mind of the subject to cause whatever, allows you to make anything you want, cause anything you want. Those are covered in a separate training. We'll talk about those in another one. But some of the most powerful and my most useful go-to trainings or filters are called Model of the World and Redefine, Chunk Up, Chunk Down, and Reality Strategy. These are really, really powerful. So let's say, for example, someone says to me, and Model of the World, by the way, is basically saying, in your world, what you're doing means X. In my world, what you're doing means Y. And my world is the right world. That's basically the effect that the Model of the World pattern has. And it's a very aggressive pattern. And you can deliver this like clubbing somebody over the head, or you can do it in a very soft, gentle way. So let me give you a couple examples. Let's say somebody says to me, let's say somebody says to me, you're not talking to me means you don't love me. Right? So somebody gives you that statement. They say, you're not talking to me, you don't love me. Someone who's reframing with a model of the world says, well, you know what? In your world, not talking to you may mean I don't love you, but in my world, it means that I'm spending my time doing the things that keep me from being able to spend quality time with you. Do you see that? Do you see how it reframes the experience? You might say, you're not talking to me means you don't love me. Well, where you're from, it might mean I don't love you, but where I'm from, it means that I prioritize things differently so that I can be fully present with the people who matter. Right? You're not talking to me means you don't love me. Well, in your world, it might mean I don't love you. In my world, it means you just don't have, you're just not that important. Right? See? You see how it just decimates and totally changes everything around it? That's one pattern, right? And again, yeah, it hurts. Right? So I'll tell you what. So here's what I want you to, just for fun, type a couple beliefs like the one I just played with in the chat, and I'll just throw out a few Model of the World patterns so you can see how this kind of comes across. David is a savage. That's my belief. Well, Brandon, in your world, you might think I'm a savage, but in my world, it just means I'm very eloquent in what I do, and I know how to get the biggest effect with the least amount of words. If you love me, you would be there for me. Look, I know where you grew up, if you think if I loved you, I would be there for you. But where I come from, it's important for me as a man to go out and do the things that need to be done so that when I come home, I can be with you in the way that you need me to be there. Capitalism is corrupt. Well, where you from? Capitalism may be corrupt, but where I come from, capitalism is the fastest way to be free. You didn't do what I asked you to do. You don't respect me. You know, where you come from, not doing what you asked me to do might mean I don't respect you. But where I come from, common sense overrules requests that don't make sense. Okay, Fishball has one that the chat is holding. I know a guy who says he thinks all cops are racist. Well, you know, where you come from, you might know cops who are racist, but where I come from, I find that most of the cops I know are actually very, very pro-human race. I'm laughing my ass off here. Hold on a second. I come from a land based in logic, David Snyder. Well, where you come from, you may think you're logical, but where I come from, we realize that logic doesn't exist in human beings. So are we getting the concept? Oh yeah, this is fun. When we do this live, we have a ball. We have a ball with this. And I'm just, by the way, just so you know, remember I talked about the rule of three, right? I'm just hitting you guys with one. Right? It's when you start to stack these things that they become really dangerous. You can just decimate a person's belief system. Right? So that's model of the world. One of my favorites, though, one of my favorite patterns is called the redefine. And you can redefine just about any piece. In order to redefine things, you can go big picture, you can chunk up, or you can chunk down. So let's go back to this example. Right? You're not talking to me, you means you don't love me. Well, it's not that I don't love you, it's that I need to make sure that I can be fully present with you by doing everything else that needs doing first. All right? It's not X, it's Y. It can be either one. 3 of the same pattern or 3 different patterns. So let's see. I did study Kenrick stuff, absolutely. I think spinning was actually a little bit different than sleight of mouth or magical objection mastery, right? You could say that. That's another way of looking at it. But you wouldn't say that as directly, Laura. So give me another belief, and I'll throw out a few more redefines. I love redefines because I can redefine anything, and then I can redefine the redefine, and then I can redefine the redefine and redefine that, right? So I can just completely spin you off into the ozone utilizing these patterns. I believe that vest belongs to me. Well, it's not that the vest belongs to you, but the love of the vest is what you really are coveting. I'm terrible at math. It's not that you're terrible at math. It's just nobody ever showed you how to do it in a simple, easy, user-friendly way. Fuck, that's valid, Brandon says. Right? Laura says, I can't do math. It's not that you can't do math, Laura. It's just that nobody taught you the right way to do it, to make it easy. I don't win arguments. Allegra, it's not that you don't win arguments. It's just that you keep giving up before it's done. Speaking of defense against this, how does one counter it? You counter reframe with you counter reframes with reframes, right? Speaking of defense against this, how does, again, yeah. Honestly, unless you know how to do this, you're done. Of all the different influence technologies out there, this is probably, before you go into things like Saul Alinsky's work of vilifying people and things like that, this is the most aggressive. What if it becomes Schrodinger? It's not that it becomes Schrodinger's reframe, it's that it becomes more of a reality tunnel that you fall down. See, Allegra says, yep, I would win if I don't give up. It's hard to act like some people knowing they're so fake. Well, it's not hard to act like some people knowing they're so fake. It's that acting fake is just a violation of your integrity, and you don't want to be that way. Right? And again, this and much more is in Renegade Reframing in the Secrets of Human Influence package. Let's see. David, you're talking to me. Clearly you love me. Well, Fishballs, it's not me talking clearly to let you know I love you. It's the fact that I'm extending that love through the video camera that allows you to realize how much I love you and how much you truly love me. Do I ever use the phrase, bless your heart? No, that's not what I use. All right. So let me do this real quick. Let me just bring this back. Okay. So a couple more and then we'll move on. How do you explain to a student that they have power to change their world with reframes? Is that a question or is that one you want me to reframe? Because the truth is, many times it's not that I have to explain to somebody how to do it. It's that I need to, through my language and through a process of self-discovery, lead them to the realization on their own. Trace says, I need to do some catch-up reading, studying, and recognition where to find solid research sources in reference to Schrodinger's, and I have no idea what the rest of the question is. She's so lazy, I can't stand it. It's not that she's lazy, it's just that she's more motivated to do the things that she wants to do than the things you want her to do. Smooth criminal. Jerry says, I fucking want to scream. Where do I start to learn this junk? It's in Renegade Reframing. It's in the Secrets of Human Influence package. It's part of your bonuses. Just go and you get all 14 of them, plus a bunch more, right? And then you'll get the club them over the head method, and you'll get Jerry, click the link. It's amazing. You guys are hysterical. All right. But again, everything starts with that CPI level 1, that universal persuasion protocol. And by the way, just to put things in perspective, you only need to use these patterns if you fucked up the protocol and missed the criterion values. If you use criterion values correctly, you'll almost never have to use these patterns. But if you're going to write sales copy, if you're going to do therapy, if you're going to do coaching, mediation, these are things that are going to be worth their weight in gold to you, because for any objection you come up with or are faced with, you have up to 14 or more different answers. Okay. Now let's see here. Clubbing them over the head seems faster and more fun. It can be. It can be, right? I am trying to get underprepared students to understand that inside themselves is the power to succeed. Again, you can reframe everything. You know, it's not that you're underprepared. It's that you simply have been focusing on other things in preparation that weren't the most useful, right? Okay, let me do one or two more patterns, and then I'll answer more questions. The Sith, Lady Tavora says the Sith have more fun. You guys like this, don't you? Let's see. Simon told me there are lazy minds and lazy bodies. Then there's both in one. Dr. Snyder, can you use these to break obsessive compulsive thoughts? I don't think you would do it by itself. I think you can. I think you can use these patterns to do it in what we call a pattern interrupt and redirect them. But I think they would have to be part of an overall persuasion or an overall therapeutic intervention if you wanted it to be permanent. I think in the moment, you could just hit them with a zinger and interrupt their pattern. We know that's true because that's actually one of the side effects of these patterns. is that they actually interrupt a person's train of thought. It creates a momentary window of confusion during which the person becomes hyper-suggestible to whatever you say next. Okay, so it's really, really powerful stuff, right? But a lot of people don't explain it well, which is the problem. Okay, so let me go back to this. Okay, so I really like redefines. Are we cool about how redefines work? Okay, chunk up, chunk down. Now this actually has, you have a couple different ways that you can do this. A couple different ways that you can do this. You can do one, the other, or both. I like to do them both at the same time. So if somebody says a statement to me, I'll take one piece of that statement and I will blow it way out of proportion. And then I'll take another piece of that statement and I'll make it anally retentively specific. So if someone says to me means you don't love me, right? You see the chunk down and the chunk up, right? Let me give another one. Oh, I like, okay. So if someone says, you're not talking to me means you don't love me. So I'll take that statement and I'll break it apart. I'll take one piece of it and I'll chunk way the fuck down. I'll take another piece of it and I'll chunk way the fuck up. And I'll say, oh, so I don't talk to you for 5 minutes and all of a sudden I'm leaving you for another person? Did you get that one? Do. Brandon Ramage is asking, can an induction be done over an audio call like phone? Absolutely. Dr. Snyder, have you used NLP to help people with drug addictions? Yes, I have. Jerry's saying we cannot hear you. Ooh, sorry guys. I have no control over the internet connection. Let's see here. So do you guys get chunk up, chunk down? You want to throw a couple more at me and I'll see if I can give you a couple more examples? You teach NLP for clout. What, I show you one little technique and all of a sudden you think I'm the master of like everything? Brandon says, yes, you are. But did you see the chunk up and the chunk down part? That's why I'm number one. Hold on a second. You got, now it's starting to go by really fast. You're paying attention to me means you're up to something. What? I focus on you one time and all of a sudden you think I'm planning world domination or going to take your bank account and shit? What's going on? Dr. David, how do you control tone while conversing with and from sound while conversing with? Okay, can you write the question? I think I know what you're asking, but I don't want to get it wrong. Soften everything. Speak from your heart. Speak with compassion and sympathy. That's chuck it the fuck up and chuck it the fuck down. T-shirts. Master of everything, like Emperor Palpatine. Well, yes, I think you're planning world domination. Exactly. Now, okay, so you guys got the basic gist of chunk up, chunk down, right? Okay, let's do one more, and then I'll kind of give you the coup de grace, and then we'll go back and we'll give you guys some last chances to kind of ask questions, get your packages and stuff like that. Actually, before I do that, let me just go ahead really quick and review what's in our package, because it seems that a lot of you are interested in all this cool stuff. So let me just go back through this. So everything that you get in the Secrets of Human Influence package has the basic universal persuasion protocol. That's this whole training right here, $2,079. It's going to come with the Secrets of Human Influence, Killer Influence Master Text. It's a $418 value. We're going to include that free. We're going to give you the Weapons of Mass Instruction, Storytelling, and Neuroscience of Story. It's $1,950 value. We're going to give it to you free. The stuff we just covered is the Objection, Obliteration, Renegade Reframes, and the Art of Conversational Belief Change course. You're going to get it for free. It's a $1,950 value. We're also going to give you the Charisma on Command, $1,950 value, Hypnotic Presentation Skills. You're going to get a 3-month trial membership where you can practice all of your reframing and all your other cool techniques. Third Saturday of every month, you come in and we're going to do a virtual training together. We're going to give this to you free, $594 value. We're going to give you the Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course. It's a $997 value. We're going to give that to you free. And you're going to get that free VIP super ticket if you're one of the next 15 people to enroll before the end of the webinar. So all told, it's a total package of $11,888. Yours for one low installment of $997, or if you need to, we can give it to you for 3 easy payments of just $397. And all you got to do to get your course is go to www.killerinfluence.com. For those of you in the YouTube channel, it's http://www.killerinfluence.com/go. You can set up a payment plan with Stephanie and go from there. Okay. So, so you guys have any questions about what's in the package? Right. That VIP ticket is the deal clincher. It's a great deal because I would much rather be in a room with you than talk to you through a video. I would much rather, I'm one of the few teachers that loves to be around their students. Okay. I just love having people in the room, watching the lights go on. That makes me happy. Okay. So once again, for http://www.killerinfluence.com/go. Hopefully I got that right. Okay. So let's go back. I want to give you 1 or 2 more patterns, and then I want to show you, I want to let you hear kind of what a triplet sounds like. Okay. Questions on the packages though? Thank you, Lamar. Lamar says this is a deal everyone can actually feel good about buying. Thank you, Lamar. Appreciate that. Cool. Free chocolates at all. Yes, we have free chocolate and coffee at all classes. All right. Let me just change my page again. Is this useful, guys? Are you guys getting stuff? Are you guys getting a lot of stuff out of anything out of this? Cool. All right. Okay, that's totally not what I wanted. Here we go. Okay. So we've talked about model of the world. We've talked about redefine. We've talked about chunk up, chunk down. Reality strategy. Reality strategy is not quite as aggressive as model of the world, or there's another one called metaframe, which we'll talk about in the course. Reality strategy is kind of like a chunk down. In other words, somebody gives you a statement, and the first thing you want to know, you want to ask them is, how do you know? And then you want to inject, maybe you don't. And then it becomes a redefine. X, Y, or Z. So let me explain how this, let's go back to our example. You're not talking to me means you don't love me. Well, how do you know it means I don't love you? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just means I'm focused on something else that's taking my attention that needs to be done so that I can actually spend more quality time with you. Lisa's saying, yes, lots. I ordered. Is there anyone? Yeah, Stephanie can answer any question you have. Give her a call. at 858-282-4663. She can answer any questions that you have. We just come here to post random thoughts. Did you guys get what I did there with the reality strategy? Okay. Go ahead. Just for fun, just throw a couple out. I'll do a couple more so you get how this works. Suppose it means it's softer. Yeah, this is, again, there's two ways. You could just say, well, how do you know it means I don't love you? Maybe you don't. Maybe it just means I'm focused on something else. Or it could be, well, just so I understand about it, how do you know it means this? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it actually means X, Y, and Z. So you have this club them over the head method, or you have this more soft, inquisitive, information seeking method. So Jeff Kilpatrick says, you don't need me. Well, Jeff, how do you know I don't need you? Maybe I do. Maybe I really need you. And the fact that I'm just trying to focus on keeping a stiff upper lip and showing my independence gives you the false impression that I don't need you. Right? Chocolate covered strawberries taste good. Well, how do you know they taste good all the time? Maybe they don't. Maybe it's just a hallucination because you really want those strawberries to taste good. And so because you believe it, you hypnotize yourself into thinking they are. Karen, why are you always so hyper? Well, how do you know I'm always hyper? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just really excited when you're around, but when you're not around, I'm really calm and sedate. YT in the chat. You look like you've gained weight. Okay. Well, how do you know I've gained weight? Maybe you're just suffering from an optical illusion because of the extra humidity or the clothes that I'm wearing. It makes you think, however wrongly, that I'm overweight. It sounded cheesy, the hyper response. Yeah. Well, how do you know it sounded cheesy? Maybe it isn't. Maybe you're just trying to find ultra picky ways to pick apart my languaging. It's not that it's cheesy. It's just that you don't appreciate the subtlety of it. See what I did? Brandon Ramash says, how do you do this without sounding like you're invalidating their emotions or thoughts? Well, sometimes you are. That's the whole point. But you can do it in a way that leads people into a different way of thinking. And you'll see this. You've all seen, let me get back to face-to-face. You've all seen people who have stated a certain viewpoint, and then you tell them a different viewpoint, and they're like, wow, I never thought of that. You ever seen that? Have you ever seen that response in people? That idea, that internal light bulb going off, that shedding in moment, is really what we're trying to do with these patterns. The problem with the Bandler approach, or the Bandler school approach, which is the beat them, more often than not, it's the beat them over your head method, is that it makes the other person wrong. Like I think it was Brandon was saying, it invalidates their emotions or invalidates their thought process, and it makes them feel like they've lost. And there's sometimes where giving a person that visceral "you just lost" feeling is strategically useful. But there are other times where it engenders passive aggressive resistance and pushback. So even though you've rhetorically beaten them over the head with this reframe, their heart you haven't won their heart. But when you can phrase and soften the reframe patterns to where the light bulb goes off internally and they change from within, from the heart rather than from the head, or they change by not by acknowledging defeat, but by embracing a different point of view, that's the biggest difference between the softening approach and the beat them over your head method. Both are valid, but the dynamics of each one are different. Does that make sense? Let's see here. You're allowing me to go to the concert means that you love me. Well, you know, how do you know that me letting you go to the concert means I love you? How do you know I just don't want to get you out of the house so I can have it all to myself and do what I want to do while you're at the concert, right? Um, yes, but the beating is so fun. Yes, it is. But remember, there's a price, right? There's a price. She cries all the time over. Well, how do you know it's over nothing? Maybe it isn't. Maybe she's just extremely sensitive and things that wouldn't normally bother you or me are excruciatingly painful to her, right? Alex P says, Dr. Snyder, one of the most powerful things you've taught me out of 1 to 10, how much would you want to do X? That's the resistance removal protocol. Yeah. Stark's always been my favorite, even before he became pop, because he's the only superhero that's possible. That's true. It's a completely out of nowhere reference, but okay. Okay, so questions. Dee Dee says, the most interesting thing I've just discovered is the realization I've been using these language techniques without knowing they're from watching your videos until hearing you do these examples. I snuck it in the back door, huh? How about you're right, honey? I love you and I want you to go to the concert. That's Charlie Ross. Yeah, Charlie, you could do that. Okay. All right. Well, listen, I hope you guys had a good time. We're coming up on our time limit for today. If you had fun, please like, share our videos, let people know about them. Please seriously consider grabbing one of those last few remaining packages. And I will see you at our next live event. All right. God bless. You guys take care. Love you all.